like, it's not cute to do that. And then he's like, and like, you know, I bet you're not like, you know, you're fine, like you're gonna be fine. Then I was saying,
you're great. You're great. We believe in you.
No. Then I was saying in his face, just.
Oh, Jesus.
But the thing is,
I believe I can fly.
No, but the thing is, two things. Number one, it really annoyed me. Like,
Take the mic away.
yeah, take the mic away. Like, number one, why would I think it's cute to say I'm bad at something? Like, what the fuck? And the second thing was like, you know, I wouldn't say anything if I didn't think it was true.
Right,
and like, I can tell, like, I was just being honest. And my favorite thing was when he realized I was just being honest after I was saying, maybe some students would say like, oh, I can't do this, but they're actually really good. But coming from a musical background, I know what something should sound like.
Right.
And when I sing, I can tell that when the pitch is off and all that. And that's why, you know, I don't consider myself a singer because I don't have that range and those skills. It's an amazing skill to have.
Absolutely. But it's fun though. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if you're singing along in the car or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love that. Like,
it's
always
great.
do that.
That's the fun part about it.
It was just funny. I mean, this song was completely hard for me because obviously I'm not a soprano. I don't talk like this in real life, so I don't sing like this either.
Don't you?
Dave has just left the room.
He's had enough.
This story has
forced him to leave the room.
upset Dave. Dave, we need you in here.
What song was it?
Dave, come back. It was him not singing.
What song was
should
it
never
that
brought up
they had
singing.
to sing for the audition or whatever it was?
It was a Michael Jackson song. It was
Bad. Oh, that's great. I'm going to take the rest of the week off after that one.
Okay, we can wrap it there. We've got our moment.
That was amazing. That was good.
I'm only going to be uploading that clip.
Oh my God.
A Michael Jackson song. It wasn't bad, I'm guessing. Do you remember Billie Jean or something? Or
Can you guys name every single Michael Jackson song?
the Earth song.
It was one.
This would not be my go-to. The Earth song.
No.
How does that go?
Oh man, you want me to sing?
Well, it was the first thing that came to your mind.
Ooh.
I can't believe it.
No.
Oh, hang on.
It was something about. It definitely was a love song.
Oh,
Can
okay.
anyone remember any of Michael Jackson's love songs?
He's only done one love song, so.
Wait.
It wasn't Ben.
The girl is mine.
Wait, I'm going to Google this
Or
now.
Ebony and Ivory? No,
That
I
was
think
not
that was
Michael
somebody
Jackson.
else. I think that was.
no, that was
Jackson.
Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson.
Was it?
You were not. It might have been Michael Jackson
You and I
love song. And you know what? I'll even sing it for you guys.
Oh wow, exclusive.
No, I'm just joking. I swear it was.
Studio teacher on the line.
So this was. Sorry, I kind of drifted away. So this is the audition. This was the audition.
One of the
No, I
classes.
actually nailed the audition.
Singing?
Wait,
or-
this is not a good time, Spotify, to act like this. Ask app not to track. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry about the
It's a
delay,
good idea.
guys.
You don't want the app to know.
I
that
just
you-
want to
keep
play
guessing.
this song for
It's more
you.
fun to keep
I
guessing.
found it. I'm pretty sure it's.
Thriller.
No. It was. I'm pretty sure it was but that's the Jackson 5.
Oh, ABCs.
Is it this song?
You might be able to play too much of that before we get copyright issues.
Yeah, true. Well, it wasn't that song either.
and I was really interested to hear how you might have started that song because that, I mean
that was that's how she started, and then that stopped her instantly.
I wish I could find the name of this song.
It is not cute to start with the Michael Jackson song. Okay.
And this guy was a huge Michael Jackson fan, and I just knew I was going to destroy this song.
Yeah.
So I said I was just honest, and I said, and it was definitely a love song. Maybe that song wasn't the Michael Jackson one, but the song was a love song. I knew I was going to butcher it, and I was just saying like this is about to be because everyone there is a musician. Everyone there knows pitch, and I'm like, guys, trust me. This is not going to sound good, and
Pitch is my thing.
I wanted to.
Are they
warn
wondering
everyone.
why you were there at this stage?
Well, I'm a fucking rapper because they don't
right.
have a specific stream for rapping.
Okay.
So they put the rappers and the MCs in with the professional singers, and it's different. It's not the same.
They're exactly the same.
It's completely different, like, you know. And even though in one of the classes, like, you know, there was some songs where I got to rap, so that was good. That was the
cool.
R&B one. But
Ooh, there you go. And you stood head and shoulders above everyone else and looked down and went,
I said,
this
guys,
is my moment to shine.
that was it. I said, guys, I'm really bad at rapping, but no, I didn't do that.
No, I can't.
I can't. Yes, that's my story.
Wow. Berkeley.
Yeah, Berkeley.
How long did that last? Did it last?
I can't afford to go, sadly. So yeah, I got offered a
scholarship thing.
Oh, they still offered you a scholarship?
No, I got offered not a scholarship. I got offered a place to study there, which is I'm very surprised by that.
$300,000 a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it is too. It's simply it's a shame that I can't afford to go. I would absolutely love to take that opportunity. It was I was very grateful and surprised and flattered by that. That was pretty big for me. Like it's not easy. People train for years to actually get in with different instruments or with their voice. I think they've only had about 5 MCs get in. So I was one of the first women to get offered a place for rapping. And but the audition was pretty crazy because I was at the gym. Long story short, I missed an email. I'd signed up to Berkeley with an email address I don't really use. I've got another one which I use more.
Hot Ranger.
Hot Ranger. I can't sing 95 at gmail.com. And you see, I just use that to register to places. But then I had my one that I was constantly monitoring for music, which is like my artist one. And I decided to apply like past the deadline, of course, because I enjoyed the course so much that I did online. And they have auditions, and the auditions are like every 6 months or something. So I emailed them, like, oh, can I please? And the guy's like, oh, we might be able to fit you in. Just stay tuned. And I knew the auditions would be taking place in about, say, 3 weeks because I was in talks with a guy from Perth who was auditioning. Anyway, so like 1 week goes past, I don't hear anything. 2 weeks go past, and I'm talking to my friend, and he's like, I'm preparing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is really weird. I just haven't heard anything. Anyway, so at some point something strikes me, and I'm like, I'm going to just check the other email. The moment of time this was, I was at on the stepper at the gym.
That's where I check my email.
Yeah, exactly. I was. So I'm on the stepper. I'm like full on sweating, and I thought, I wonder what's happening with that audition. And I checked my emails, and it was set for about 30 minutes from that point in time. Might have been a bit longer, might have been like 45, but it was within an hour.
Right.
And I looked at the time. I had to calculate the time difference. At first, I thought it was going to be the next day, and I'm like, wait, hold up. Check the time difference, and it was that night because it's in America. Yeah, and it was that night, and it was like within an hour. And then I'm like, holy shit! The only thing in my head is like, holy shit! So I run to the car, run home, get in the shower, and I'm just like, fuck! I've got like a very limited amount of time to prepare for this audition. The audition requires you to do like this scale exercise, which is quite complicated, which I knew I didn't have hope in. A performance, which was about 2 minutes. Yeah. And what was the third thing? Oh, yeah, and an improvisation as well.
Which the whole thing was.
And I was...
This is the improvisation.
It actually, the whole thing was an improvisation. So I will admit, I did get incredibly, for about 5 minutes, I let my emotions run rampant, and I'm crying in the shower. I'm crying in the shower. And I just think to myself, my heart just dropped, and I'm like, this was such an opportunity, and I fucked it up. And I'm like, fuck. Anyway, but then I thought to myself, what if J. Cole, my favorite rapper, one day called me up and said, hey, I want you to open up for me in 1 hour at my show in Los Angeles or something. I'll get you on the Superjet Concorde and you'll be here in 30 minutes. You know, it could happen.
That's right.
Good.
So, yeah.
And so you had that Michael Jackson song just as in case, just ready?
Yeah. Exactly.
How did Michael Jackson be the thing that came to mind in that moment? So you're in the shower, you're bawling your eyes out, and you go, I'm going to audition. Was it the Michael Jackson?
She did the audition
No,
with
Michael Jackson did not come
at the
into
school.
Oh, when you went to... okay.
At the online course earlier.
Oh, right.
This is to attend the actual university.
This is
the... Okay, I got you. I'm up to speed now.
That's right.
Okay.
This is our Thursday night comedy special. For anyone who's just tuned in, welcome.
Right.
So... This is the
Cheers.
story about my audition to Berkeley.
Full of vodka.
This is how to get into Berkeley, which many people try for a very long time to do, and this is how I fluked it.
Okay.
Which just seems to be.
This is like
the
a
course
life
of
hack.
life.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a
not
life hack. I
secret.
tell
Yeah.
everyone a life hack. Simply drink.
Balance water.
No, this is
No.
Balanced Water has been fired from the podcast.
Oh, have they?
Okay.
Wow.
We now have active pH 9 power water.
So you've been testing various waters over the last several weeks, and
Do they
I'd
all
be-
taste exactly the same?
No, they don't, Matt.
Ooh.
And each has a different health benefit, I may say
Wow.
myself.
What's
They
this
had-
one infused with? With pH 9, whatever that is.
No, this one isn't infused, but I can tell you it has electrolytes in it. And electrolytes are designed to maintain healthy muscular responses and energy distribution. Sodium and potassium, the essential electrolytes that maintain water distribution in the body, are sometimes lost in exercise.
sometimes.
However, this is electrolyte alkaline water. So when you're drinking active pH 9 power water, you're getting those electrolytes replaced.
There you go.
That's why I love my active pH 9 water. And I love it so much more than balanced water and so much more than active love water, both of which have declined to sponsor this podcast.
I can't believe. I honestly, I can't believe it. But what I do like about this is it seems to be a much more scientific approach than the
It's
wildflowers.
aggressive. It's an aggressive approach.
I feel like wildflowers might soften you as an elite athlete, and whereas electrolyte seems to be
It's a
energizing.
good word. It's a powerful word.
You know what? I agree with you.
Powerades
It's a
associated
marketing
with-
word.
It is a marketing.
When a
Electrolytes.
marketer saw that word, they said that is the word we need for this
Because
water.
no
Power
one knows what it
or
is,
electrolyte?
but they believe it's a
but it
benefit.
sounds good. It's
What,
powerful.
power or electrolyte?
Electrolyte.
Electrolyte, yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one.
There you go. All right.
And taste wise, is it just water flavored, or is there any type of?
Well, it's.
water flavor.
Is it water flavored? Because some of these waters.
I can't take it.
That's
Just,
like getting a soft drink. It's like you want a Coke or you want it water flavored.
Yeah, I feel like you might pay a premium for water flavored water.
Right. You
Yeah.
probably would if it had electrolytes in it.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing about this is it does taste like water.
It does taste like
Well,
water.
that's weird. I didn't expect that.
I love the authenticity of that. Yeah, it's good.
The thing is, in comparison.
That's great. You can't look at me when you do it. I'm laughing.
In comparison to the balanced water,
Oh, balance.
Yeah.
I found that was quite soft in
Shit.
flavour.
Oh.
They might still sponsor us, so I don't want to talk too badly about it. But look, in comparison to balanced water, this water is definitely more powerful. I can taste it.
You can taste the
Powerful.
I
power.
can taste the power.
Ooh, hashtag power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
There you are. You're crying in the shower. We've got
And
to
I'm
that
crying
point.
right now.
Yeah,
it
that's
seems to
right.
be a constant
it was
thing in my life.
electrolytes just flowing over
Right.
you.
Good thing
and
you've got the
infused
water
with tears.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Yeah. Well, look, maybe had I have had the opportunity
maybe
to
we can
drink.
market that water, the shower water infused with tears. Yeah.
Tears of a
Tears
failed
of disappointment,
audition.
regrets, and general. Yeah,
I'm sure someone would buy that.
Absolutely.
there's some sicko on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like that water. Yeah,
There's some crazy
Ends up,
things
ends
on
up
the
in a
internet.
research lab
It's
somewhere.
it's in the dark web probably.
yeah. Already.
Look, so that day, perhaps had I have had this water, I would have been a lot more on the ball. But quite simply, I wasn't.
Was that product even available at the time?
Look, it was available, Dave.
It
I
was
can tell
back
you it
then.
was, but
So-
I just didn't have any that day,
Yeah.
perhaps. I think that was back when I was drinking tap water.
Oh, he does that.
Wow.
And you know what? Since I've swapped to various types of water in the quest for a sponsorship,
Not for better health.
Yeah, that's right.
I've actually found that better health was a benefit.
Hmm.
Indeed, I have.
Definitely.
Definitely. That's why. But yeah, that's my story about water. No, genuinely though, I got to say this is probably my favorite out of all the waters I've sampled.
Okay.
I genuinely mean that. So if they are looking to sponsor someone like me, active. Oh, sorry, us. People like us.
Well, fine. Forget about us. Forget about those clowns.
I didn't mean it.
They
Yeah,
don't need hydration.
They've got enough electrolytes.
exactly. Yeah.
You're disappointed. You feel like you've let yourself down.
Yeah, I was just
Team
fucked.
down.
To give some context, I would wake up. I've never in my life been, even in med school, I'd say I was never this motivated to study so fucking hard. I was studying like mad. I'm sure you guys have had like that one thing that you're like all into. I would wake up, I'd be doing the music work all day. There was so much theory to learn. There was so much stuff to do. Then I would go and I'd train. This is the first time in my life I've ever sacrificed training for something ever. Yeah, So pretty much since I started sport, I never would say, okay, I've got to do this. I'm okay with missing training.
Wow.
I've never done that. But for this, I did because there were assignments and there was so much work. It was super intense. So then I would go to bed, like, because of the time difference, my classes were up to, like, they'd start around 2 a.m. and then they would finish around, I think the latest one finished around like 7 a.m. So I would stay up so I could do those live.
Wow.
And then I'd go back to bed and then I'd have that sleep. I'd wake up later. I'd do the study, I'd train, come back,
So
study.
you're in medical school at this stage as well?
No, that definitely would have killed me.
Yeah,
This
right.
was during
the
lockdown.
online-
This was during lockdown. This was
This is
after the
online
Olympic
course?
trials, and it was an
Yeah.
online course. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was during lockdown. It was great. It was a great thing to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't. So the life hack. I'm waiting for the life
Okay,
hack.
so here's the life hack.
Right.
So I find myself in a position where I had this amazing opportunity coming up, and I essentially made a mistake. So the life hack number 1. Check all your emails and check the spam. I think it may have even been put into spam of that unused email too, and that's why I didn't notice it.
Right.
So always check all your email accounts and check your spam. Always, especially when you're
So if
waiting for a
your
big
life sucks, it may be because you've missed
you
an
may
email.
have missed an email.
It's in spam. Go check it
Yeah.
out.
That is,
Yeah.
It
Good
could
advice.
just be that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. So there was that. But the second thing was just when I had that when I realized, well, there's nothing I can do. I can either not go to the audition or I have like under an hour to prepare an audition to one of the best music schools in the world. Luckily for me, I'm a fan of music. I love music and I've done improvisational theatre and I've got those skills which have helped me. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna impro this audition.
Yeah.
So I put together in like, I think I had 20. So, and then also it's a video audition. So I've got to try and make the room look presentable. I got to try and make myself look presentable. Got to try and get the tears out of my eyes. And then, I put together really quickly. It's actually really beautiful. I put together like all of J. Cole's top love lyrics and I made like a love song. Yeah. And then it was like a rap. It was a song that went into a rap chorus, then song, then rap, and it was good enough. It was good enough.
So you sang it on the audition.
Yeah.
They rang you up and you went,
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm ready." Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I had my laptop on the piano,
Yeah.
and then it was time to perform, and I didn't make a mistake. I did not make one mistake. Yeah, that really surprised me. And then obviously the next 2 exercises were the ones I didn't prepare for because I didn't think I had the audition coming, and I knew I wasn't going to do well there, so I knew I had to do well in that component.
Right. So what did you do for the improv?
I wish I could remember. I think they give you a key and you have to. So they're playing like an instrumental, and that's how I actually write most of my raps. Is I'll listen to an instrumental and I don't usually write down a song and then find an instrumental to fit it. I listen to the music and that gives me the words. That's how I do it. And so with the improvisation, that was easy for me. But like, I think you were meant to sing it. So I knew I wouldn't be able to sing it in key. As I said, I don't claim to be a singer. So I rapped it and I could just see the guy being like, this isn't quite what you're meant to do. I remember at one point, he's like, so did you look at this exercise on the website for how you're meant to do it? I'm like, oh, yes, of course.
Oh, yes, that website, yeah.
Yeah, that might have been a bit of a fib. I'll admit it now. I'm sorry, Berkeley. I just didn't have time. But yeah, so that's the story of Berkeley. So yes, I would have pursued that opportunity if I had the funds, but it is very expensive. And also it would be it wouldn't be possible to train at the level I need to and do that as well. It's the same extent as med or.
You're skipping a lot of steps there. Like you got so you did the improv. He reacted like, and there was a third thing that you had to do, a scales
I can't remember
thing.
what order it was. I wasn't sure. I honestly can't remember. This was exactly probably a year ago now. But the third exercise I remember was the one I didn't do the best, and his face was hilarious. He was just like trying to work out like yeah.
This is one of the most prestigious schools in the world, and this young lady looks like she might be
Winging
winging
a
it.
mockery of it.
Yeah, it was pretty much like that.
But how did you hear back? Like, so what was the feedback? Like at the end of this, oh, thanks very much.
No,
we'll let you know.
No
We'll
indication.
call you.
We'll get our people to call you.
No, there was no indication of doing good or doing badly. There was an interview afterwards.
It was just facial expressions that you had to read between the lines with.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then afterwards there was a pretty much an interview with the dean, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember, but he was very, very nice. And I think, actually the coolest thing they asked was, I think, where do you see yourself if you came to Berkeley? Where do you see yourself in like
Say in the mirror.
5 years time?
California. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then
Now I'm just transporting myself back to that moment in time when I was like, I don't know how I've finished this audition without crying.
wow.
Yeah, and then what happened? And then it was like a wait for a pretty long time, and then everyone got sent their offers or their non-offers.
Straight to spam.
Yeah, straight like 2 months later, and I got an offer, and I was like, what the fuck? I was not expecting an offer, and I opened up my email, and I was very nervous, and then I opened up the letter, and it's like, you've been offered a place, and I was like, what?
Wow.
So I started emailing the other 5 rappers who've been to Berkeley, and they were all really nice. They're really awesome people and really supportive. And one of them's actually doing pretty well, one of the guys. And he was actually the first one, and that was like the big thing for him. He's the first ever rapper to go to Berkeley.
Oh,
like
right.
it's like, because it's such a different genre. It's not really, and it's a new kind of genre. So that's my
So as you're pursuing this, you're also training. You're doing the kayaking.
No, so this again. So what happened to me was after the Olympic trials, I went straight into music.
So how long ago was this? This is
This is last year.
Oh, this is relatively recent. Yeah. Okay.
This is before she came in.
Yeah.
Just earlier.
Yeah, I just spent, so as I said, like I had all that time that I used to spend canoeing. Like if you imagine your whole days like this, like that much of my day was canoeing. Suddenly I had all this time. I was like, wow. So I started a new job, and I started working. Sorry, not working. I started studying music as well. That's what I did. Yeah.
And did you have that thought of maybe returning back to medical school, because you did have to put that on hold to pursue?
At the time, I had no interest. Last year, I had no interest, but after some like recent things, I think I probably would. Yeah. Later on, I think. But it's something to do. I guess I came to the realization through all of our podcasts and all that. You know, it's going to be pretty hard to earn full-time money from
doing
sport.
this podcast. Oh, sorry.
look, I've been meaning to talk to you about our pay.
Dave's taking
I
all
need
the
a
money
pay
for
rise.
himself.
Yeah, no.
From all the sponsors.
all the sponsors, all the revenue, all the water. It's all my water. Yeah.
So
I think
your
the truth
music is online.
It is online.
You've
MC Izzy.
So go ahead.
Yeah, talk about
Tell us
MC
about
Izzy.
it.
This
MC
is like
Izzy. Well, I want to change my artist name. I think it's too old school. But I do. I've got a large number of unreleased songs as well.
so there's a back catalogue.
There is a huge back catalogue.
Back catalogue.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, but I
You're
guess
like Prince.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right,
there's more songs that haven't been released.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know Prince had more songs.
Oh, I think Prince and Beck are the two most prolific
Oh, yeah,
songwriters.
Beck.
In the,
I've never heard of
in the
Beck.
modern- Beck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been
Two
around for a long time.
turntables and a microphone. You don't know.
Yeah, you
Loser.
probably would have heard his
That sounds
stuff.
like Hound
He's
Dog
done
from
like
Elvis
a
Presley.
million songs. He's won a lot of Grammys and stuff. Yeah, you would have heard something, but not realised that's him. He does all sorts of different
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, it's all over.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of different genres. But yeah, so you're just like them, in other words.
Yeah. MC Izzy on where?
SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Reverb Nation. What's the other one called? There's another sound any sound platform you can find me
And
at.
it's not MC like the letters MC, it's EMCEE, is that
Thank
right?
you for clarifying. Yes, it's the abbreviation for Master of Ceremonies,
There you go.
like MC Hammer.
That's right.
But
But less
C.
less big pants.
yeah, less gold.
I do like my trackies, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
parachute pants.
absolutely. Yeah, but no, I have listened to your stuff that's up on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Very
supportive.
positive messages coming across in those songs. Yeah, it's really good stuff. And it's nice to see that you've done something so well. And then, hopefully you can make more of that in the future as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Matt.
There you go.
Did you always have that affinity with music, or was it just it was something that when you finally didn't have all of these other responsibilities that you thought, this is something I really wanted to do, now's the time. Now I've finally got a window, I've got an opportunity, let's start laying some of these tracks down.
I'd say I've had music that's been the longest constant of my life. Absolutely. I think that's what I've done the longest time, over sport, over anything academic, and it's always been with me, and it's the one thing I never gave a proper shot as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's something that in a place like Adelaide, it's just not realistic for me to pursue that full time, which is why I always sought to go to America and all that. However, if I'm in Australia and it seems unlikely to be, and for anyone to be able to leave to pursue anything, it's not realistic for me to do it. It's just incredibly difficult, especially as a hip hop artist in Adelaide. That's just the reality of it. If I was doing a different sort of music, it would be easier, but it's very hard when you don't have that environment that a place like Los Angeles provides with similar creatives around you. Luckily, I've got similar combat athletes around me, like you guys, and that means the world to have your support. And at least there's like-minded athletes here who I can train with.
And has it always been hip hop for you?
Since year 5. Actually, not even. My first rap was in year 3 to Snoop Dogg.
So the backing track, and then you just went over the top.
The backing track was "Drop It Like It's Hot." So when I finally got to meet Snoop Dogg 2 years ago, I told him, you're the reason I rap. Yeah, it was co-written with my sister and I. My first rap. Yeah, as I said, year 2, year 3. It's a collab. Yeah.
Did you change the lyrics, or you just?
I did. Yeah.
What was it instead of "Drop It Like It's Hot"? What was it?
I don't want to perform it now. I don't want to stuff it up. But it was about a Yoshi. Yoshi from Nintendo. Yeah, it was about Yoshi. I was the task was you had to do like an advertisement for something. Okay. So we wrote a rap to "Drop It Like It's Hot," advertising a Yoshi.
Nice. Sorry, how old are you? How old are you at this stage?
I was about 8 or 9. That was my first rap.
Drop it like it's hot.
Pretty good.
Alternative lyrics.
Yeah, that's good.
I can actually remember the lyrics, but we don't have like the right sound effects on the mark. I don't know.
We could come up with something. No.
Yeah. Then in year 5, we had to do that task. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote down, I want to be a rapper.
Okay.
And I've spent many hours trying to tear apart my parents' house, trying to find that piece of paper because I know,
you knew they
weren't
going to throw it away.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in a box somewhere. But I'd love to just find that piece of paper because that means a lot to me. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. My mum's house is full of John Farnham videotapes.
Is he a relation? Why?
It's completely not right.
Matt's story is, I don't have any talent, but Mum has a lot of John Farnham.
Why is every Thursday we talk about Thursdays is when we don't talk about combat. Thursday nights is the late night special, everyone. We hope you enjoy this completely irrelevant.
So tell us about Mum's John Farnham collection.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your childhood. Tell me, aside from arm wrestling, when you were growing up, what did you guys want to be when you were younger?
I wanted to be a professional golfer, so that was
we
mine.
need to hear the story. We need to hear the story.
That's different.
I actually remember the moment that crystallized in my mind as a possibility as well. So, my grandfather, when you're on school holidays, and there's school holidays right now, so kids watching might take something away from this, but my grandfather took me to the golf course and gave me a club and a ball just to kind of shut me up, I think, and just give me something to do. And so after that all teed off, he said, you drop your ball over there and you can have a hit. And I just remember creaming it, like just once, just smacked it straight. It was the best feeling. It didn't even feel like it hit it. It was like some kind of magic where I just waved the club near the ball and it just took off into the distance. And I thought, and at that moment I was hooked. And I thought, I just need to do that every time, and that's going to be awesome. So, so straight after that I went home, and there was no internet or anything back then, but went and started checking out, what's this whole golf thing about? Went down to the newsagents, got a magazine, and had a look through there and went, okay, well, yeah, I just got to wear some pastel colours.
Where's your Hawaiian shirt? Yeah.
The uniform is the most important bit of golf.
It's a collared Hawaiian shirt. That's and khaki pants.
Long socks.
Standard issue. Yeah.
And from that moment, and so my grandfather was really supportive of that, and got me a set of clubs.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
he was an active golfer. He'd go out a couple of times a week, and so he dragged me along whenever I was able to go, and then progressed through, and was playing at a reasonable level, and. But for me, unlike yourself, I don't have unlimited potential. It seems, and I found
it's not that. I can say that. Anyway, go on. Yeah, go on.
And I kind of came to that realization that I wasn't going to make it, and it was twofold. Mostly talent. And ability was So and I remember that moment well as also because there was a young guy, and he when I hear these stories of these elite athletes, they love it because they're willing to put in the enormous amount of work where there's sacrifice. There's nothing but I wasn't prepared to put in the sacrifice. I think it is what it was. And those people that were around me that weren't as good initially, who were putting in the work and getting up early and hitting the range and doing that type of thing. Well, naturally they just got better and better, and me just playing once a week, wasn't there. And so that was the end of my golfing dream.
How old were you then when you sort of changed out of it?
When I realised?
Yeah.
I was about 16.
Realised that sounds so sad.
Yeah, I was about 16. Yeah. So, it was about 16.
But you said you won the
we
amateur
have an
tournament?
award-winning golfer right here. Tell us about that.
I won an award.
have the trophy
it was an
before
aggregate.
you
Yeah, it was
carry it around with you.
well, it was the SA Open Pro-Am in 1990. So I think I'm the youngest winner, but it sounds super impressive.
Well
but
done.
it was a group event, and I had lowest individual score of the day when my handicap was taken into account. But I wasn't a scratch golfer or anything like that, like many were. So there was potential, but I not enough to be not enough to make money out of it. And I think golf, well, a lot of these sports. There's a lot of people. There's some people that make great money out of it, and there's a long tail of people that really do struggle. And I think in some part, fortunately, I'd been exposed to some of those people, and they were the people that absolutely loved it regardless, and it didn't matter to them whether they got paid or not, or whether they ever won a competition or a tournament. They were still going to be hitting that range 8 hours a day, and I wasn't one of those people. So I really do admire the tenacity and the discipline that it takes when people are in that middle ground where obviously they have doubting voices about whether or not they're going to make it, but they somehow stand up to those voices and turn up every day and persist. And, when the opportunity presents, they're ready,
So that's how you get success in anything, really, because you're always going to have people that tell you that you can't do it or it's not going to happen. But, if you know that you have a passion for it and you're willing to put the time and effort and sacrifice into it, you will get there. But, well, it's funny because one of the guys that's coming to the gym at the moment used to be a pro golfer. And, he
comes in with his clubs every day.
That's right. You can tell by the way he walks. It's a lot of swinging movement.
He wears a lot of pastel.
That's right. So he's never trained in the gym prior to 10 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah, but he wanted to sort of strengthen his legs and back and sort of thing to help
for golf.
Yeah, at this point he's the same as you. He's sort of stepped away. So he played on the circuit for a reasonable amount of time. Really pursued it, put a lot of time, effort, sacrifice into it, but was sort of right at that bottom end of the money making. So he was sort of sick of traveling around, sleeping in his car to make tournaments and, putting everything into and not quite making the grade. But one of the funny stories he was telling me the other morning was that he was practicing this shot at the range like over and over. He wanted to get a chip shot, which would deliberately slice away.
Yeah.
And he went through all of his clubs and he was writing down, which club would go how far, to get this shot. And every shot he hit would chip and go, the slice the way he wanted it to go. And he was doing this for maybe an hour or so. And then he said the guys next to him at the range, when they were packed up and they were leaving, one of them walked over and goes, "Mate, you really need some lessons."
Wow.
He's like, I was trying to do that.
Sounds like that just sums up that guy's career.
Absolutely. Yeah, pretty much.
Even when he's doing everything right, it's wrong.
Yeah. Do you think golf would be the most frustrating game ever?
I love golf. I really enjoy golf.
You play golf as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I was considering a pro career in golf as well.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not.
Scholarship to
let me tell
are you a sporting
UCLA.
polymath? Is that where you are?
No, two things. Number one, in terms of the golf specifically, here are the pros of doing golf and what made me think about it. Number one, lots of money. Number two, lots of sponsors. Number three, it's quite peaceful out there on the course.
Yeah.
Number four, it's a bit of a social game. So once you become good at golf, you can then go out with your friends. For example, we could all go out,
Have a
bring
round.
your families, guys. We could all go and have some fun, right? So that's why I wanted to do golf.
Yeah.
And my dad told me, no, you said 24 is far too old to start golf.
Wow.
Which is true. It's completely true. I don't think I would. He said, obviously the best have been training since I was 6. So that was the end of my golf dreams.
Wow.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. And then in terms of what you said about being a sporting polymath and all that, I'd just say if you just work, try something you really like, anyone will be good at it.
What have you tried that you've really sucked at?
I really dislike netball and soccer, and I'm terrible at both. I strongly dislike soccer. I can't enjoy it, like playing it. It's using the feet like that. It's not right, and it's not like footy. Like I quite like rugby. I played rugby sevens. Got invited to the rugby sevens state team this year,
really?
So I was training at Sassy for that. That was actually quite funny. And then confused everyone while I was in the sports institution. It was so much fun. Anyway, and then footy, obviously, Aussie rules is quite fun. But soccer, no, not for me.
What was your first sporting love? What was the first thing you picked up and immediately felt good at?
I'd say cross country running. I trained myself up to be really good at that. Yeah, and I wish I'd had a running coach because I wouldn't have gotten injuries. But I was I became a really good runner.
Huh.
Yeah, and that was just, and it was just really nice.
In primary school, I'm guessing?
No, this is high school. This is like year 10. Yeah.
You hadn't played any competitive sport before then?
No, I did like always did sport at school. Like I was average, absolutely average. I was nothing good at all. Absolutely. Yeah. And I hated being average.
So what was the gap between being average and then getting into the Australian Institute of Sport?
I trained myself up really well, and looking at it now as a strength and conditioning coach, what I did for myself was phenomenal. Like I remember, I was living in England for a bit of time when I was about 15 or 16 with my auntie and my uncle. And when I lived there, they took me to France, to this random village at one point. And it was like a very, very small village. There's a reason I'm telling you this. I swear. Anyway, but I was so into my training that I would go, this is like I'm talking like a very tiny French village with massive hills and everything. I would have been very young. And I would go for like a 1 hour run in the middle of summer in France. And then the villagers, I just remember these old ladies coming out being like,
cheering you on.
Yeah, it was every time I did it, and they saw me up the hill. Like there was this one big hill, and there was a house at the top, and they'd come out there. It was really lovely.
They're practicing for the Tour de France.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Just right.
Yeah, sometimes there were quite a few of them. It was really nice. Anyway, the reason I say
How
this...
encouraging. What a
That
supportive
was supportive.
community.
It was so supportive. It was like, I don't know what they thought. Like, who's this random young girl? Because everyone in the village was quite old. Like, who's this random young girl who's
Why is she running?
We have a runner. Where did she come from?
Yeah.
Where is she going?
Where is she going?
She comes back and she goes past again the next day.
Let's watch. Let's just if we cheer, maybe she keep going.
Yep. Well, it did work. I love some good encouragement. Yeah. No. So it was just that would have given me a great aerobic base. It would have given me like the Ks and all that. It would have strengthened my legs like that. That would have been really good for me. And then I got into rowing. I'd always been involved with rowing, and I love rowing. I think it's a great team sport.
So how were you involved in rowing?
So I was actually a cox for 5 years.
Okay.
And so the cox is the person who sits in the boat because I was the smallest. I was small. Like I wasn't tall and strong. I had no muscle.
Yeah.
And especially because I did the running, so I was quite light. So
you coming at the front?
Yeah. So I was never really given. Yeah. And what actually got me into rowing specifically was every single year I came second at the biggest race of the year called Head of the River. And I was sick of coming second.
It's like over the top for rowing.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's the biggest event.
Oh,
and basically I could see when the girls just couldn't push anymore or when some of them gave up. And I got really frustrated. And then it got to the last season. It was my last opportunity to win that race. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm getting in the boat. And I learned we had a crew that was put together within 13. We had 13 weeks. Most crews have 26 weeks to train for this. And we organised to do extra ergos. We worked really hard. There was one girl in that crew was a few years younger than us, and she lived near me. I'm like, hey, do you want to go do a 2K ergo? And we would do 2K ergos. Like we trained ridiculous. We came second every single race of that. Every single race we had together, we were second. Day of Head of the River, there's a heat and a race. And then we had the heat. We progressed to the final. And in the final, we're doing this warm-up called a roll-up, which is where you're pretty much set up for your stroke, but you don't put your blade in the water and push. So we set it up and we just did it perfectly.
Oh.
And it was so perfect that when you do it perfectly, you hear it and it goes like, and there was just silence and the sound of our crew doing that. And it was so beautiful. And you could just sense every other crew in the water thinking, oh no, because it was perfect technique. Like we were all perfectly in time. It was beautiful. And yeah, we started the race and we led the race from the very beginning. I remember just looking, and I was in bow. So that gave me the privilege of crossing the line first, and just every single stroke, I just remember looking at everyone behind us and just thinking to myself, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life and enjoy it. And then I'm also at the same time thinking I think one of the cue words we had was like, legs down, head up, like legs down, and just seeing everyone very far away. We just led the whole way to the finish, and we won, and we won. Wow! And we finally won, and
awesome.
That was thank you. Yeah, that was the best. That's actually the best win of my life so far was that race. I knew it would be, and it was actually the first time my whole family came to watch too. So fantastic. I had my whole family there, which was just really lucky because
fantastic.
That was the best race ever.
How many people are in the crew?
We were in it was a
4-person crew. And when you say that somebody is the cox, that what are they doing?
So that was actually a 5th person who was the cox. So four rowers and a cox, and they steer the boat and also give cues throughout the race. Yeah.
Right. So they're going row.
Yeah, or like lengthen out, like,
Keep rowing.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Were you good at doing that when you were
I nearly made it to the Youth Olympics as a cox, actually. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. You were good at giving that.
So what happens in the...
It's good for coaching. I think it gave me a good base to be a good coach. Okay. Was my 6 years. I coxed for 6 years. It's a pretty long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what happened in the wake of that event?
Oh my Lord!
So it is comedy night.
It's comedy night today. We need drum rolls and stuff. Get your comedy sound fun.
Oh, we've got Rory's on the ball.
Wake.
What do you call?
So after that event, you've won. You king of the hill. What was it again?
Head of the river.
Head of the river.
Mountain.
King of the mountain. Head of the river. And what came next? Like at that point,
I took the trophy home and I had
You
slept
took the
with it in my
trophy?
bed. I held my trophy that
Yeah.
night.
Wow.
It was our trophy, but actually that was the nicest thing. The crew was so nice that they gave me. They knew how much it meant to me,
Yeah.
my crew, and they actually gave me. So we got given the trophy as a crew. That's obviously owned by the South Australian Rowing.
Mhm.
They actually gave it to me to take home, which
Aw.
was very sweet. Like that's very nice.
Yeah.
And I like full on slept with my arms around my trophy that night. Or our trophy, sorry, it was our trophy. And I slept with my arms around it. I was so happy.
You had to give it back at some point.
Yes.
Right.
Unfortunately it got lost.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding.
It's so weird. Always seems to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that trophy
It's
is
a perpetual trophy.
Is it on display or something with your crew's name? Or...
Yeah, my name would be on it too because
cool.
they put the bow person's name on it. So that's the person
really?
who finishes. So my name
Wow.
would be there. Yeah.
That's cool.
And did you get a chance to defend the title?
No, that was my last season
That was
rowing,
it.
and also it wouldn't
What
be.
a way to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was-
Huh.
yeah.
Go out on
Just
top.
perfect.
That's the
And
last
did
time
you
I
know
went.
what you were doing next at that point? Did you know
I
what the next challenge was?
I loved rowing. I really loved rowing. Physically being in the boat over coxing, 100%.
Yeah.
But I actually did. We had to do a really long maths project at school. I chose to do mine on the heights of rowers because I thought, am I tall enough? I'm 165 centimeters. Am I tall enough? And I compared. Got so much data on the height, weight, and gold medal stats of female rowers worldwide to see how I stacked up against them.
And what would be the ideal if you had to build that perfect female rower? What does that look like?
I can't be that specific off the top of my head because it's
Yeah.
been nearly 10 years. But I'd say it was they're tall
Yeah.
and they're pretty strong.
Okay.
So, for example, when I've been to, we had an international regatta in Sydney and Team China ran past and we're talking, I have to put my head up like that to look at them and they're probably all around 6 foot, really long arms, obviously, long bodies, because that's how you get the reach in the, yeah, well, actually, and that's how you get the reach in the boat. So you want long arms, you want long reach and you want a long torso.
Yeah.
And I always felt in the back of my head like I was too short to be a Olympic rower, and that's why I didn't pursue it. However, it would have given me a lot more, I think, to have stuck with rowing. But it was way more realistic for me to make it in canoeing. Way more realistic. If I go to a canoeing regatta, I fit in body wise. If I go to a rowing regatta, it probably looks like I'm a very heavy cox. Yeah, that's what it looks like because I'm short. You know?
It's funny with the averages that you were doing. They did that with the AFL.
Really?
They took all the players and they aggregated the heights and weights and everything like that, and they found their average. And then they found the guy who was right in the middle, like the average guy. And they went to this dude, and it was on camera. And they're like, "Hey, mate, you're the average, right in the middle. How do you feel about that?" And he goes, "Yeah, pretty average."
That's funny. That's funny. Can we pull up that clip for the comedy special?
Where's the drum roll? I was waiting for the drum roll.
Yeah.
I have
Pretty
got. No, I probably shouldn't tell the joke. But yeah, that's right.
Oh, wait. Don't tell us a joke, but tell us, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, that's
Well, you're
cool.
almost there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great.
halfway to go.
Yeah. From like Pumping Iron style or movie?
It was action
Terminator.
Movies. Yeah, so
Okay.
I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
As an 80s kid, it was I remember Commando. I don't know if you've seen that one or not, but at the start of the movie, he's chopping wood and then he's carrying a tree.
That sounds like fun. I'd
on
like
one
to do
arm,
that
you know.
too.
But it's
Yeah.
an obvious shot they've got of his arm, you know. No, this is how I carry a tree. But for me, as a 7-year-old or whatever, I was like, oh my god, it was happening. And I remember calling my sister in, "You're gonna see it," and she's like, "Ugh," and I'm like, "Oh, that's even better." You know?
It freaked my sister out. It must be good.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And then, just being a fan of his, and then it was the Terminator and Running Man and all those classics that come out of that.
And did you know
time.
at that stage that he was a bodybuilder?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, you did.
Well, it wasn't as sort of prevalent in the information that I had on him. It was like he's a movie star. That's how I saw him first and came across him first. And then it was like, oh yeah, and he did this muscle thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later, that I had sort of looked more into his background. With obviously, he was a bodybuilder. But,
Yeah.
and then found out well, he had a couple of autobiographies. So one of them, which I don't think as worldwidely circulated. I've got one of those that he wrote. Really interesting stuff, and it was before he was sort of mega famous.
Ooh,
So it was
that
more
sounds really
about
good.
him coming to America, hooking up with Joe Weider and the training, and getting the deals and the muscle side of things happening with the Mr. Olympia stuff. So that was really interesting to find out about that. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And then the first chance I could get into a gym, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to like him.
You want to be Arnie? Yeah.
Absolutely. I was playing table tennis in high school, like for one of the clubs down south. I was doing like table tennis like 6 nights a week. It was fun. Like we were enjoying it and playing in tournaments and national tournaments and stuff like that. But it wasn't like this is the thing I want to do. I was like, I want to lift weights and look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, and star in movies and be awesome and whatever. And so when I was 19. Joined the gym. Actually rang up Regency TAFE because I found out about personal trainers, which was a new thing. It was exclusive to the stars previously. And I was like,
wow.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
They were running a fitness course. Come up, do the fitness course. It's full time, whatever. So we did that. But that one of the requirements in that course is you have to train in the gym which is awesome.
That's
like
awesome. Yeah.
You study and then from 9 to 12 and then from 12 to 1 it's gym. And and so it was fantastic. First exposure to that. I was like, how do I get in this? I want to Schwarzenegger and so I loved it. Started training twice a day straight away. And just hit it hard. And
how old are you at this stage?
19.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been doing stuff at home, but just like, push-ups. And I remember feeling
were you into footy or what, was there any?
Did you play sport at school? Were you sporty at school?
It was the table tennis stuff was what I was
table
doing.
tennis.
Yeah.
So no, he wasn't.
No.
Just footy at all.
I had done very briefly some karate stuff.
Yeah.
Because you saw Karate
Spoke to
Kid?
a great karate athlete the other day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, his name was Carlos.
National champion in Mexico.
Yeah.
Fantastic story. Absolutely, yeah, for sure. But no, it was that, and then table tennis. Just went along to one of the social nights. Like they used to have a juniors, Friday night, come and play, and we had a table at home at one point before it got destroyed. Left out in the rain or something, and it was fun playing that. And then went on to the juniors night, and you've got the $5 bat from Kmart. Of course, there's a whole world of like different styles of bats and techniques and all the rest of it. Same as anything.
Yeah,
like,
once you start going down the rabbit hole.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and so played that and really got into that. As I said, I was playing 6 days a week. Tournaments all over the place. Every weekend was a tournament somewhere. We're going there.
Oh wow, you're a pretty professional table tennis player.
It was, and they used to have prize money, but the prize money would be like $5.
Which would give you the return on the table.
Yeah, well, I used to take that straight to the canteen and buy like a soft drink or something. But it was a lot of fun.
Wagon wheel and a tab.
That's right. Yeah, a tab.
Tab clear.
Tab clear. Diet tab.
Love that.
Yeah, for sure. But the world of table tennis, it's called with the bat. It's called a rubber on each side. Yeah, hilarious. But there is a thing which I fucking hate in table tennis, and it's something called anti-spin. So you can get, like, whenever you think of a table tennis bat, it's smooth, right? That's how the majority of bats are. There's ones you can get that
Some have coronavirus.
Yeah, that's right. This is how it started.
That will get us deplatformed. Where you can't. Oh no, you're allowed to say it now. You
can say corona.
Sorry to go on about the bats. So we're talking some bats have rubber. All bats have rubber, but some have anti-spin.
Some have anti-spin, which is cheating. It's ridiculous. I'm outraged at everyone that I've played against that used that. I hate you forever.
Never seen Matt's.
What happens? Oh, it's insane.
Would you like some water?
Yeah.
It's anti-spin.
It's all coming back to me. You hit the ball like this with a normal bat, that will bounce in topspin. And someone else hits it, it's topspin. Right? You hit like that, it's going to be backspin. Anti-spin does the opposite.
Oh.
It's the opposite. So they hit like that, it's chop. It's backspin.
Oh.
They hit like this, it's topspin.
Oh.
And so someone will have that on one side of their bat and then have a smooth on the other.
Oh, so you don't.
And so in real time, you're trying to figure out what they hit it.
And
like
this
that.
is legal. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And so they'll serve and like this, and you think, oh yeah, that's backspin, and it's like it's not, it's topspin.
And
Interesting.
you got that.
Yeah, so
split
you're like,
second.
and it sucks.
It sounds like that was the beginning of the end of your table tennis career when you discovered.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the upper levels, you won't see it much because it has that restriction that you can't, like if you're hitting a really heavy shot, like a topspin shot like this with a lot of power. With a normal bat, you can generate a lot of power. Without that, with the anti-spin thing, if you're trying to hit it like that, it's gonna it's limited by what you can do with it. But it's confusing as hell and really frustrating to play against. And anyone who would have that, I'd be like, oh, they've got an anti-spin. Oh my god!
But it would have taken some degree of technique to play with.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the. So is that the mastery of like?
Yeah, but they would be playing with it at a very low social level and beating good players,
promising young players,
promising
with
athletes
dreams,
with
dreams,
hearts full of dreams,
Olympic dreams, yeah.
because of their stupid bat, not because of their ability.
And who were your table tennis idols?
Oh,
was there like
Chan
who's the
with
Arnold Schwarzenegger of the table tennis world?
There's
Is there
actually
one? Is there a movie star celebrity?
There's two from Adelaide that are really
Oh, right, okay.
One to three, but two. Paul Langley and Tammy Goth both went to the Olympics.
Okay.
And Chinese lady Mei Ling, I think her name was. But yes, so they did really well. Represented Australia. Fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah.
But in terms of what I
You seem
want,
somewhat resentful.
that's all right.
Yeah, awesome. No, good on them. No, I wish them all the best.
But if they weren't using
Fucking top
anti-spin, they
spinners.
can do what they like.
They were using anti-slip.
Yeah. But you could see the level because we had the national tournaments that we would go along to as well, and you could see where we were and then where they were. Not that it was impossible to get there, but the commitment and time, like you said, sacrifice, all the rest of it, is this the thing I really want to do? Because I can do it, but I would be spending my entire time and every minute of every day trying to get to that point.
Yeah.
The sport is an Olympic sport. It doesn't have much money in it, really. I doubt you could make a full-time living doing it.
Is there anywhere where people do?
Yeah, Sweden.
China?
Sweden
and China.
Surely China.
Sweden and China.
Yeah.
Isn't it two disparate places? And
They're exactly the same.
yeah.
The culture.
Yeah. Big table tennis nations. They're the powerhouses of table tennis.
Yeah, well, so the European League would have, top players and they would actually pay players. But I think the money would still be really, you might have enough to live. It's not big dollars.
Yeah. They're not balling on that table tennis dollar.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Big chains with the bat, anti-spin bat. Made of gold.
But that's one of the most interesting things about sports is where in the world certain sports are more popular and even pay their athletes enough to live. So with kayaking in Hungary, if you're one of the in Hungary, if you're one of the best kayakers, it's the equivalent of being one of our best tennis players.
Wow.
So they have them on bus stops. They get given like the BMWs and the Audis, and
Really?
yeah, they're like the superstars of Hungary. It's quite funny.
Wow. Is that because they have a river culture?
Could be. Definitely that's part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the Danube.
Yeah.
I do. I love
You spent time on the
Bucharest.
Danube?
I did spend some time on the Danube.
Yeah.
After competing in Zolnok, which is a small village of Hungary, I actually had a bit of fun and I went to like a music festival and I went on the Danube on a boat.
I have no idea what that is.
The Danube, it's the major river that
It's a
goes
big
through.
river. It's actually stunning. I think it's pronounced Bucharest, but I used to pronounce it like Bucharest, but that was wrong. So my pronunciation's off. But it's a really beautiful place. Actually, it's I'd say it's one of the most underrated destinations of Europe. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Danube.
John Farnham video tapes.
Going back to Mum's
Back to
collection.
anti-slip. No, can we talk about these anti-slip for a second?
It's anti-spin.
Sorry, what if you had anti-spin on one side?
That's what I'm saying. Some
and
people
nothing
would
on the
do
other.
that.
That's a sneaky tactic.
Because
That's sneaky,
it has to be
yeah.
red on one side and black on the other. They might have the black side is anti-spin and the red is not. And you can spin the thing in your hand while you're playing. So they might be like
That would be
changing
my
it.
tactic if I was going to play. I'd do that.
You know, and so as a player, you'll hit the ball. I mean, this is in microseconds.
Just to annoy Matt.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Just turn it, just twirl it.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
you know how
Psych him out.
you know how fast a table tennis rally is. It's like dunk, 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 dunk. It's that, and so if you're trying to gauge what side are they using in the bat and how did their hand move in a fraction of a second to how you've got to play your shot, and you're so conditioned to, you know, when the ball's here, you hit this way, your ball's there, you hit this way. And then it's like you're trying to, on the fly, change your entire system based on what did they just do a millisecond ago. I hit it that way. And, you know, you can't play the game that you want to play anymore. And it's just... yeah, absolutely.
So at what point did you say I've had enough?
I played right up until, say, year 12.
Okay. Oh, so you stuck at it?
Yeah. We had a good time doing it.
And was it because another sport came along and captured your imagination? Was it because or was it just that, I've had enough? You know, now
I think
I'm year 12. I'm a young adult now. I'm going to go out there and do some other things.
Absolutely. I think that's what it was.
Socially. And,
so I finished school.
You see a lot of sporting careers basically end then.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yep.
Absolutely. But it was, because there was other things, you know, you're not in a routine of going to school Monday to Friday. It was whatever I was doing at that time. And then, you know, you've got all this other free time and different interests and new things that you're looking at doing. And then it's like, table tennis became, but now, mate, I wanted to do that thing. And so, you sort of start losing that interest in it. But I enjoyed the time I did with it. But once I jumped into the weights room, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
This is it.
You knew.
That's cool. Did you say that when you were applying there? Like, you know, I'm inspired by Arnie.
I don't think that there was a requirement before. It was, so they had two courses they were running. One was a fitness course. One was a community recreation course, which is basically fitness and outdoor mixed together. So they had an outdoor course as well, which you'd never see those people because they were never here. They were always out somewhere outdoors. They were like on a camp 9 months of the year. Somewhere in bushwalking or whatever. I remember a couple of them saying, I don't know why I'm paying rent at home. Like, I haven't been home in 7 weeks. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, so ours was a combination of both. But I applied for the fitness course originally, and I remember having the audition, the interview.
I found out about the audition while I was playing table tennis.
Yeah, that's right.
I had half an hour to prepare. I ran straight home and cried momentarily in the shower.
So,
but then I pulled myself together and I said, if Arnold Schwarzenegger was to ring me up and say, I need you to personal train me in half an hour, I'd be there.
That's right.
It's amazing how your life stories are very much in parallel.
It's strange that. But yeah, so I had the interview to get into the fitness course, and although I was really into table tennis and fitness and training and that sort of thing, the resistance training was still sort of new to me because, as you said, I mean, there wasn't internet around. It was what you would read in books, and I remember I used to fill up my school bag with as much heavy stuff as I could, and I would do curls with my school bag at home and I was like, I'm doing 100 push-ups a day every day, and I'm going to do the school bag thing, and I would go to the kitchen and get cans of soup.
This is how Matt got into arm wrestling. He was building up, you're technically building your arms up and your wrists up for arm wrestling.
Absolutely. But yeah, once we hit the course and started learning, the good thing was at the same time as getting in and doing the actual exercises in the gym, we were learning the fundamentals of biomechanics and what muscles do what, and so that we could teach others. The idea was that you would be a fitness instructor in the gym or a personal trainer, so that you would be able to, have somebody come in and explain what's going on, how to run an exercise properly, what muscle groups are working. So to get that benefit at the same time as I was learning to do these things anyway, I was like, oh, okay. And so I sort of from day one was able to get an understanding as to this is exactly the right way to do things, which I think helped a lot because, even at the gym where I'm at the moment, you still see people that come in and they don't know how to do certain things, or you've got a little description on the side of a machine that, or a figure that might be like here, and then it's like here, and it's like, okay, I guess, and you'll see some terrible techniques and stuff like that. But the industry changed for me because I used to work in the gym as a fitness instructor years ago when I was 21, 22. I worked at the TAFE gym and one of the other gyms as well, and it was like, that's how they used to operate. You would have people would come into the gym, they'd sign up, and then you would have a fitness instructor would show you how to do stuff. And it wasn't an extra cost or anything. It was just, there's the fitness instructor if you want to program, and they'll show you how to do everything. They'll be here. And so you would run people through, this is how this works. And you'd walk the floor and people doing something wrong would be like, yeah, mate, you're probably going to hurt yourself doing it like that. Do you want me to show you how to do it properly?
And if you did that nowadays, you'd get probably cop some abuse from that person.
Yeah, you'd have to pick the person. Like, I've been doing it for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Some of your shoulders broken. But that's what the job used to be, and it was good. It was fun. You come in and that environment, and wanted to be Arnold, and it was like, this is the gym. Then the industry changed, and it became, we want you to pay us to work here.
Yes. Yeah.
And you get to be your own business and find your own clients. You can train as many clients as you want using our equipment, but you got to pay us $300 a week to work in this place. And I was like, what?
It's an interesting job.
Yeah, don't think I want to be doing that. So, luckily, sort of, well, not luckily, but I changed. I was like, no, that doesn't sound like something I want to be doing. Got into something else and followed that instead. But I mean, I was doing the acting and modeling stuff.
Was there any time that you stopped doing weights, so that you stopped training, or you continued all the way through?
20 years in a row.
Oh, well done. Well done.
I'm 39. I started when I was 19. I've never stopped.
Well done.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It's dedication.
Yeah, after the 5-year mark, no one cares. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, like you said, if you've got a passion for something, you're going to do it regardless. And I absolutely loved it.
And where did the acting bug, when did that
was that
emerge?
from Arnie, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was the same thing. It was like, I'm doing weights and I want to get into acting. I'm going to do modeling. I'm going to do this.
So it was a conscious thing. I'm going to be Arnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the path. I've seen it now. Right. I've seen the light.
It's a great inspiration to have. I think he's a very good person, Arnie. I love hearing him talk about how he was in Germany. He wasn't that, he left and he had nothing, and he came to America and he just had this dream, and he'd been inspired by bodybuilders too, and he had this dream and he wanted to be in movies, even though he didn't have the perfect command of English. I think that's really beautiful. He does inspire me a lot too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's right. And yeah, so for me, it was like, in the gym training, and then
I didn't know we'd hit that moment, but there we go.
There we go. we got the Terminator thing going. That's the Terminator theme for anyone who doesn't know. Terminator,
I'll be back.
Let me think. That's Terminator 2, I believe. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So started doing that. Went to a modeling agency. Signed up with them. Great. They'll take your money and never, you won't get any work. But
that's why I'd actually be really, I reckon I'd definitely consider being an agent at some point. I've always said to my friends who I'm like, okay, I can definitely see you'd easily get modeling work. Let me be your agent.
Let me get you sponsors. Yeah.
Yeah, not sponsors so much. That's a completely different bottle of water. But when it comes to like agencies in general, even sports agencies, as you've mentioned, it's a lot of them just take your money.
Yeah,
and a lot of them charge, like a lot of the someone like Matt would come along and say, I want to do acting, whatever. And I'd say, all right, so it's going to cost $200 to join my agency. And also, I'm not going to put you up for any work unless you complete my courses. They're going to cost $5,000 and it's compulsory. I just can't represent you because I don't know what level you're at, even though you've done an audition for me as well, which I paid you. I asked you, $60 to pay for.
Yep. Headshots. You got to use our photographer, and
there's a lot of. I think it's quite an unregulated industry that could be better done, and I think there's a huge market for anyone with integrity and honesty to actually go in there and help people. I'd love, because I'm good at finding opportunities. I think I would probably be good at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. So
there's definitely space.
Tempting. Anyway, go.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So yeah.
You need an agent?
You need representation.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's where we're getting into with this.
Yeah, now go on. So tell us about this agency. So
Right.
your first modelling agency.
Yeah, I did a lot of promo work, where you'd go out and
It pays well. I've done
nightclubs
that a
and-
lot. It pays really
Yeah,
good.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, that's right.
Give me cigarettes to young people.
That's just, under 18 was the target audience.
There were plenty of them at Heaven. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you'd be going to nightclubs with a
Yeah.
couple of pretty girls and smokes, generally speaking, wasn't it?
It was mostly, Marlboro.
Marlboro,
It was
Peter Jackson.
Midori.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
stuff like that. Suntory.
Try Midori.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the illusion. It's 2.5 shots. So,
But you didn't realise like you were really there as a bouncer for the two girls,
Right.
That's kind of how
That's
it
sort
worked
of,
out. That's
mostly what it
basically somebody had to drive the girls and somebody had to watch out for the girls.
that's right.
And you thought that you were kind of there.
Yeah, I was
That
selling
was
the
kind of the
drinks
deal.
and the cigarettes.
Really?
That's how it went.
I didn't
yeah.
know I didn't know they used to give out cigarettes.
I didn't
Yeah.
used to
I can't
put them
believe
out,
it.
but they would have like
Yeah.
a stand, like a booth,
Mhm.
and it would say Marlboro booth, and then they would have two girls with big boobs basically and small tops.
And very-
Would stand in there, and then drunk guys would come up, talk to the girls, and buy Marlboro cigarettes, even though
they
don't
didn't smoke.
oh, yeah, absolutely,
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how marketing works.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, these ones that we were selling, I guess, were, I've never smoked, so I don't know, but like they were 16s or something.
Oh wow!
Which,
they're super strong.
Yeah, like super strong.
Yeah.
And, guys would buy them and they would try and they'd be like, but then they would try to actually, it's like, oh, man, I don't smoke all the time. So, yes, did that for a while. I don't know.
It's funny that we even live in a world where that was something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
relatively not that long ago, and you'd go into a bar or a club or something like that, and there'd be smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
You couldn't see the bar when you walked in the door, and a plume of smoke. It's just you'd work your way through the bar, and I think somebody mentioned to me the other day, said the worst thing about not when they banned smokes out of bars and clubs and that type of thing is that you discovered that thing called BO that a lot of people had, that the cigarette smoke was covering up that. You'd go out and you'd just come back, you'd smell like cigarettes for 2 days, even if you didn't smoke. It was an amazing thing that I worked in a pub when I was younger, and one of my jobs was cleaning the light globes with the nicotine
That
stain.
sounds dangerous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cleaning the light globe.
I only electrocuted
They
myself
always
once.
ask me to use water in a cloth.
Yeah.
The lights had to be on.
See the
But
electricity
the-
over there. Just play with that for a bit.
but the light globes they would drip with nicotine. So what you had to do, because in the morning, which is when I'd get there, it was encrusted with the nicotine. And so you needed to turn the lights on for an hour to melt the nicotine to the extent that you could clean. And it was my job to do that once a week. So imagine if it wasn't done, like it was just.
You know what?
Hmm.
You know what? I just like to take this moment to talk about toxins. So the advantage of having Alka Active pH 9 electrolyte alkaline water is it's alkaline. So something like nicotine is a toxin, and one might assume or presume in this case that toxin is heavily acidic. Are cigarettes acidic? Does anyone know?
They're carcinogenic.
I do believe that there's pure poison.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where having a performance, hydration, and recovery style of water can be a great advantage.
It's health restoration.
It is. It's health restoration. That's what this drink offers you.
Right.
Yeah, so if anybody might have, just for instance, got some smokes off a mat in the 1990s at a bar or a club, and maybe kept the habit up.
Yeah.
Maybe they went with the 16s and went,
This is for me.
I can get better at this.
Yeah.
And then maybe you've had a heart attack or two. Well, active.
There you go.
pH
That's the
9.
answer. That's your answer
There
now.
you go.
You trusted me back then. You can trust me now.
There you go.
With the nicotine that you would wipe off, you would put all of it into a cup and then they would sell that as a special on Friday nights.
Just to the hardcore
tell us-
guys.
Let's give
tell
that to the
us-
Marlboro girls.
What would happen? So we're talking, you've got the lights on, the nicotine is melting off. You unfortunately don't have this product because alkaline water didn't exist at that point in time.
No, there was just
which
water.
is crazy. That's why life expectancy was so much shorter, because no one was drinking this water.
No, everybody was drinking Coke in the 80s and 90s.
Drinking,
And
drinking
snorting.
Coke.
as a water substitute. Yeah.
It was water flavored though.
Yeah.
Water flavored Coke.
All right, so you're there and you got this waxy nicotine coming off the light. How do you clean it, Dave? Tell us.
With the Chuck Super Wipe and
A Chuck Super Wipe.
yeah, Chuck Super
How much
Wipe.
do they cost?
Well, I mean, I guess you could get them in bags of 10 or 20.
And are they available at your local supermarkets now?
Is this right now? If you head down to Foodland,
Or your good retailers?
any good Chuck's stockists, whilst you're there, pick up an active pH 9 plus.
That's right. Have you checked the Foodland scoreboard today to see how special they are?
But yeah, so that was it was just horrible, and you know what, people would. They would be smoking the durries, they'd be out in the big night, and then the next day, you know, they'd be playing sports. They would be out, you know, it wasn't an unusual thing for somebody who was trying to be an elite athlete to be a heavy smoker at the same time.
Yeah, it used to suck. As a non-smoker and hating the smell of cigarettes, especially when I was working in clubs as a security guard. I remember one night, used to stand on like a box or like a windowsill or something, a trapeze, or just so you would have height, so you could see the crowd.
Yeah.
This guy in front of me had a cigar.
No.
and it
I
was-
love cigars.
Oh.
Yeah, go on.
and I couldn't tell him to not smoke it because
He was
he
allowed.
he was allowed to smoke it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
But like that night, I was like, and yeah, but you for days afterwards, your clothes, your pillow, your sheets would stink of
Everything.
cigarette smoke. It's like I
Yeah.
didn't even smoke anything. So yes, fan of cigars.
I am.
Yeah.
It's a confession.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if I should be talking about this publicly, but I feel like obviously it could be seen as quite a not a positive thing with a sports career. But I am a huge cigar fan, so much so that I only save them for like something super important that I've done. So not that it's an achievement, but I made it to 18 to 21. So on my 18th I had one, my 21st I had one, finishing school I had one, getting into med school, and
Just before you walked in.
today making it through last week's podcast. No, I did plan my next one that I planned for was going to be when I made the Olympics. I was going to have a cigar.
Let's crack on again.
Why a cigar?
Yeah. Where did that
Why?
whole
Because I
idea
love them
come
so
from?
much. I love them, and I'm like, well, it's not something I should have often. So it means a lot to me when I have done something to kind of.
And have you got a few set aside for
I
future?
do. Yeah. I have two.
And what are they marked for? Like
Well,
when
I had that one for the Olympics, and then I had one for a recent event, which I can't say what it is yet.
Yes.
But I had one for.
So
I had one
to be announced.
to be announced. I had one hoping that if I succeeded to the, I did kind of earn it with that, but it's going to be complicated because I can't give any more details on that one.
No.
But
Tell us more
basically, I
about
have two cigars stocked
Left.
up, but it's
One's for the Olympics and one's for
one's for
the other.
But well,
thing.
I mean, I'm not going to wait another 3 years before I have one. That's far too long. So maybe if I make the, no, it's too soon. I can't do that. But the next big event, I do a good job at.
Hang on. So there's another Olympic tilt.
The next Olympics are 3 years away.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So
That's a long time. Not
so
to have
there's
a cigar.
but what sport are you? Boxing?
cigar
You going
smoking.
Can we get a cigar sponsor? But
It's a combat sports.
but there's lots to celebrate. So
Conor McGregor likes
Yeah.
cigars too.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger also
He
looks
is a
great
big-
with
he's
his
a
big
cigars.
exponent.
The
Yeah.
stogie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Took my stogie.
Yeah. So when with the next Olympics, what are you training for now?
I wouldn't say I'm training for an Olympics anymore in understanding and having a full appreciation for how corrupt sport can be.
Yeah.
And no matter how good you are, ultimately it's in someone else's control whether you're there or not. I will make the point to say if you are doing a sport like athletics, swimming, probably those two. I think they are the least corrupt sports we have, especially in Australia. And I think it's very clear cut who gets on the team and who doesn't. But for me, that's no longer something I can really aspire to, because I think it's something that you can waste your life. I threw away everything, as I said. I did give up med school. I did give up a lot of social events. Not everyone makes those choices when they do sport, but I did. And I have to live, obviously, that was my choice at the time. And so what do I train for now? That cigar isn't specifically for the Olympics. It could be for a world championship belt. It could be for a state title.
Okay.
What do I train for now? I do really love boxing, and I love it so much. I love all combat sports. I'm happy to just train to be the best I can be at boxing. Maybe the best I can be will be winning one fight. Maybe the best I can be will be a world title. Isn't that a great thought to have?
What is it that you're doing? You're boxing at the moment?
Yes.
And is it that you've got, say, a fight lined up, or you're looking to get that happening, or
I can't wait to have. I mean, obviously, I've had my first fight, as we know. I can't stop talking about it.
Right, yeah. Was that part? This is part of the thing that you can't talk about?
Ooh, I think we're getting too deep,
Okay,
Matt.
we
I don't
won't
think
go there.
you should.
Oh,
That's fine.
oh, really? Oh,
That event happened.
Mhm.
You're looking at the next one now. So you're improving your skills at the moment.
Yes.
And training hard.
Yes.
I see you up at 4 o'clock in the morning
That's right.
every morning.
That's right. So one of my friends,
3
coincidentally,
o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
it was 3 o'clock. I was up at 3 o'clock
Everyone
this morning.
was up at 3 o'clock for some reason.
We need a coffee sponsor.
Yeah, so actually one of my friends, coincidentally from this event, one of my teammates sent me a message. He said, we're talking about my similarities with aspirations and so on, and boxing style and form with Mike Tyson. And he goes,
We raised that a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, and he's like, Tyson got up at 4 a.m. every day to run, and he told me that. I'm like, and the next day I woke up at 3:57. I said in my head, I'm like, I ain't gonna set an alarm, but can I wake myself up at 3:57, please? And I woke not 3:57. I was like, if I wake up at 4, I'm gonna get up at 4. I woke up at 3:57 that day.
Well done. There is actually a trick to doing that.
Honestly, I just put the number in my head and I always wake up. I don't know how that works, but it does. I'm going to wake up at 6:50.
Yeah, there's a fail safe with that. So if you look at the clock, and you tap and you look at the clock, so it might be say
sounds kind of
10 o'clock
spooky,
at night.
Tell me.
Let's say it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You're about to go to bed. You look at the clock and you say, "I'll get up at 3:57," and you tap your head on the pillow. Look back at the clock. I'll wake up at 3:57. Tap your head on the pillow. Do that 3 times. Go to sleep. Guarantee.
That's really spooky, Dave.
3:57.
But I think it would work. That's similar to what I did. I just did.
That was shared.
It's a Wim Hof special. There.
That's a
very
Michael Rowland one.
Well, it's very specific. I
think Guru Muktananda might have shared that one with him.
How interesting. I think we should all try this. Why don't we all pick a number and try different methods of waking up? But you have to set an alarm for if there's another time. But Matt, do you actually sleep though?
I've not used an alarm in 15 years.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I either get up when I want or before.
Yes. This is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
No, not much, really.
You don't sleep? No.
Let's talk about sleep.
Yeah, I
Why
would
don't you
like
sleep?
to do more sleeping.
You would?
Why don't you sleep? Because I'm pretty sure like last week you told us you've been up for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Is this for your arm wrestling? Are you thinking it's going to release some sort of, I don't know, like do something with your brain chemicals, or why is this?
I got a lot of things happening, which is great.
You're
It's good.
just-
It's
you're
good to be
just
busy.
busy.
It's
It is
good to be
It is
busy.
good to be busy.
I'm really
It's good to sleep.
Yeah,
but
it would be good to sleep as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
is.
I work night shift, so I'm up all night.
I'd like to think that you're up all night thinking about like that spinning issue with the bat. Just
The
just like it's still
anti-spin.
eating away at you, and it's just stopping you from sleeping.
Yeah.
it's just-
So actually, one of the things when I train, when I lift weights,
you're thinking about.
I don't think about that,
Oh.
but I do think about high school bullies.
Oh, do you really? Yeah. Did you have
Good
a
on
few?
you.
Or,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
on you.
And it cut
Well,
deep.
fuck
or-
them, Matt.
Absolutely.
If I
Yeah.
ever see him, I'll fuck him up. I'm sorry
Yeah,
about my
that's
language,
right.
guys.
No,
That's
that's
how
all
I
right.
That's
feel
right.
about
You got fired up.
Yeah.
bastards like that.
No, very bullied in high school. Very
You
bullied.
really,
Oh, yeah,
yeah?
absolutely, yeah.
And what was that? The table tennis,
Yeah,
mostly.
the
or-
anti-spin, the lack of anti-spin. No, no, I don't know. Just that's what it was for me, but maybe too sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I use that as
Still to now. Still to now.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Still,
yeah. So I'm reading a book at the moment by an ex Special Forces doctor called Dan Pronk, and his life story is incredible. He was training for triathlon. Was thinking he'd become a professional triathlete. It didn't work out for him. He was average in school. He was also expelled from a school. And one of the things he mentions in the earlier chapters of his book is training using spite for fuel. Because he went into an army thing, sat down with the army guy, the recruitment officer, and he said, I want to be in the Special Forces. What that man didn't know was that at that point in time, Dan had actually been training for 6 years for the Special Forces.
Oh, wow.
All throughout medical school, he'd been training, hiking, everything you have to do, like the weights, the running, the everything. It's very
it's
military
intense.
fitness is next level. I'd love to be like that level of fit. That to me is something to aspire to. And anyway, so he's just sitting there and he just tells the guy just laughs. He was actually eating lunch and he laughs and like bits of food were Dan describes, going in the air. He just said, like, you're never going to make that. You think you're like, he said, everyone, if I had $1 for everyone who comes into this room and says, I want to be in the Special Forces, blah, 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 like, you're never going to make it. Don't even bother trying, all that sort of shit. And Dan used that to fuel him for trainings. And he said after that meeting, he trained even harder. He had even harder intensity. And he thought to himself, is it productive to train using spite? But even in my case, and perhaps in Carlos's case, as an athlete, like when I've had people try to stop me, which I had all throughout, largely due to the corruption, that is actually when I think about, God, like how could I stay in there for 5 years when it was so obvious that I wasn't on the list of people to help. It was actually largely training out of, you can't stop me from getting what I want to achieve. I'm going to train even harder because you're making it harder for me. I'm going to show you that I mean business and that I'm serious. And that sounds like what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. You want me to do something, tell me that you don't think I can do it. I'll fucking show you how I can do it. I'll do it 10 times better than what you can do.
That's it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so even though I completely understand that those people are different people now, and if I met them out in the street, hey, nice to meet you. Hey, nice to see you again. Whatever. I don't care.
You look like shit. Why are you so fat?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Then a stab, maybe.
They got violent quick.
A stab of friendship. Right. Yeah. I understand the time is different and people have changed.
Yeah.
You'd hope so.
And yeah, absolutely. Well, even if they haven't, I have anyway. But the energy and fuel I can get from those moments, I hold them close, because if I want rage, I want anger, I want frustration, if I want those things when I'm about to lift something heavy, or if I'm about to go into something serious and that needs some passion, right there. It's right there.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's really good, I think. And,
And so that's why, with arm wrestling, that I don't give up. I don't quit.
No, you don't.
You're not
No,
gonna
you're
quit.
very, very persistent. Yeah.
It's those things I'm thinking.
Right.
Right. So it's like, I'm. Yeah.
So it's an unleashed rage that you
It
are
is.
I
able to
would say.
focus
yeah.
And I would say it sounds like it's almost,
at a moment that's positive for you.
Yeah.
but it's almost leashed, as you said, because you're using it when you need.
It's funny. I don't know if you guys think of this. I don't know if anyone thinks this way, but
We'll find out.
yeah. So you're doing
Psychiatrist on
might be a
standby.
bit
I'm 39 years old. Let me just put this out there for the first time. Yeah.
This might be a bit extreme, a bit
Okay.
aggressive, but
Right.
we'll preface that.
Okay.
So if I'm
I'm ready.
if I'm lifting weights, right? If I'm doing a set and say I'm going for 20 reps,
Okay.
say it's bicep curls,
Yep.
and my biceps are screaming at me to stop at 8.
Mm.
The muscle's telling me I can't do any more. You
Mm.
better stop. And I'm saying, shut the fuck up. I'm in
Your
charge
your
here.
internal
Nice.
dialogue.
I'm
here.
telling you are doing 20 no matter what. You don't ever say you can't do it.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you're hurting. I don't care. Don't tell me you're hurting. I don't care. And I'll keep pushing through it until I physically can't do it anymore. Like until it's exhausted. So
So what's the part of you that wants to give up? that weaker part of you that
The
wants to give
physical.
up.
Yeah, it's a message.
So
well,
it's a message.
fatigue. It's if you're doing something, whatever it is, exercise. Like I said, I've got the two voices going.
Yeah, I
all
was
the
going to say
time.
because it's two voices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one voice or muscle or whatever is saying this is hurting, I can't do it. The other one, overwhelmingly aggressive, will tell it that without using too many expletives.
But it's
You
a,
will
it's
do
a
it.
firm.
I use the
It
expletives.
is a firm word.
That's
so you're
exactly
like,
what's in my head when I train.
yeah,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of swear words most
Oh,
of the
yeah.
time, especially with fighting,
Hmm.
with training fighting. Even watching the fight last night, Sue versus Spark, which we should talk about later because it's quite interesting. But that's self talk, and I think that is that's pretty interesting, and it's obviously working. Like shut the fuck up, I'm not tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that especially when I think about that recent experience, I have the voice in my head if I'm training, you're not fucking tired, don't be a fucking this, don't be fuck that, just fucking go.
Is that an external voice? So is that a voice that's come from someone else at some point?
It's actually your voice,
no.
Yeah, that's right.
It's set in your accent.
This is all an illusion. It's not really a podcast.
It's pre-recorded by me, but is that a voice that you've heard that you've engendered from someone else that's saying no, you got to keep going, or is that very much something from inside?
I do wish it was from someone else, because I think it's quite a that would have been quite a motivating thing to have had anyone at any point say something like with my sport, do this or do that. When I was canoeing, obviously I had.
But your internal voice sounds, and both of you sound very aggressive.
Yes, aggressive.
Yeah, not very supportive.
Most
Just shut the fuck
aggressive
up.
you could
No.
ever
Oh,
imagine.
no.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, quite on the contrary. I think, it's positive self-talk.
Yeah, but it's positive.
Yeah, it is. It's positive. It's not saying you're a fucking piece of shit. It's like, come on, let's fucking go.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the this is hurting, or this is the challenge, or this is the problem, is what your one voice is pushing. This is hurting. It's hurting. And then it's like the other destroys it with, you will do it no matter what. No matter what, if your arms fall off, I don't care.
Do you just get, if this question for both of you, do you just get that voice in sport, or is it a voice that comes up in other situations as well?
All the time.
All the time in other situations, but for you,
Really?
just sports isolated?
No, I'm self-talk mostly when I'm, when I'm training, or when I'm, even as I said. So, for example, if I'm hitting a bag, I'm thinking about, my techniques. I'm thinking all right, use the hip, or eyes up, or posture, that sort of thing. I usually focus on, I don't have it as much.
You don't have a conversation going on in your head?
It's a strong, not to
I love
that.
the way you said that.
No,
I don't get it. How do you think? How do you think, though?
Clearly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But isn't it say you want to, don't you go, what should I have for dinner tonight? Or what should we have for dinner tonight? Or
I'll say that out loud sometimes.
maybe I should do that. What do you think? I
would say the only time that really emerges is out of frustration. And I think, when something goes wrong, oh, fuck. Something like that, but I used to be.
You say it too.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
Fiddle, big jingles.
Fiddle big jingles. Oh my god. Fiddle big jingles.
Fiddle big jingles.
Fiddle big jingles. Fiddle big jingles. Fiddle big jingles. Somebody fiddle big jingles.
There's certain age groups you can't say that to.
Oh, yeah. That's, we'll have to edit that part out.
No, not the same way. But I will also say, my behaviour is moderated somewhat. So I was particularly aggressive. I didn't have control of myself, I would say, properly, as a full-grown adult should, until I was, probably in my early 30s. And there were several things that led to a mellowing at that point in time, I think. But I was a phone smasher table
Oh, wow,
breaker.
okay.
I was one, and I didn't really realize wasn't until it dawned on me, because I was externalized. Like, I wasn't having this internal kind of conversation. Oh, I was like, "Rah!" And when you're 120 odd kilos and you're thumping a desk and it breaks, and you've done that a couple of times and you've gone through a few phones, and I was never angry at anybody really. But the effect on people around you, they kind of stand back and go, "Oh, that's inappropriate." That's behavior.
After 3 business
nasty
meetings,
thing to do in church.
Dave, we need to have a talk. You can't do that in childcare centres.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, I don't have that same type of rage and bullying and that type of thing. I think that's something most people go through, and I think one of the tragedies of this generation is perhaps that they won't.
Right, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And I say that because I can see within you guys that it's been one of those things that's propelled you to a new level that you wouldn't have otherwise found.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for every negative experience I've had. And what specifically made me reflect on the hardest times of my life was David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. And I couldn't believe, his story. But then I realized on reflection, same as him, everything I've done in my life, and even when it comes to, yes, I do sometimes aim for something which just seems impossible. It's because of that drive that I have from those negative experiences. And I'm so grateful for every single one, because I wouldn't be me. I would not have been me. I can't imagine having had like a cruisy life or, being like that. I think, and in terms of what you're saying, yes, I actually think sadly that in terms of bullying and all that, I think I've read statistics that youth suicide is the highest it's ever been, which would be a result of cyberbullying is obviously terrible. Like there's Dolly Parton, who was she's like 12, an Australian girl who killed herself.
Oh, really?
So in terms of that level of bullying, I think children aren't equipped to have, all the social media and things that go on. We'll probably link this with, if this is aired, link this with a number to, the Black Dog Institute, or, there are services, anyone who's that way, feeling that way can, I'd encourage them to check out those resources now if you're listening. But I think from that side of things, I think bullying specifically is probably quite bad right now.
I would probably suggest it mightn't even be at any different level, and at an institutional level, it's no longer tolerated. So, whereas perhaps previously it was. And bullying at a low level is actually behavioural correction. So there's a very fine balance there. But you'll have people that, and friends will do it. They'll kind of go, "Oh, what are you wearing that shirt for?" Or what are you?
You gave me the shirt.
Didn't think you'd wear it in public. Okay, well, we kind of did. There's that kind of nitpickiness, and family do that, and what it is kind of we want to. It's a corrective measure. We don't want you to be an outlier. We want you to be in the community, and maybe your behaviours, going to lead you to being an outlier, and so we're going to kind of do this.
Social science.
Yeah, this bullying thing a little bit to kind of bring you back into the pack, and but there becomes a time when that's it turns into where people are being omitted, where people are being excluded, and then it's the exclusionary aspect of the bullying which is the most hurtful, and that has the greatest impact. So young girls in particular, they don't bully physically, but they'll often bully by character assassination. That's the way, and exclusion. So they're not likely to punch on, but whereas, say, boys it will crescendo in some kind of physical violence, and then it might simmer down thereafter.
Yeah.
In some cases, escalates and gets worse, but in often cases, there's a reconciliation that happens after the physical confrontation that women or young ladies or girls don't have that same reconciliation after the physical conflict, because it doesn't quite get there, but then it goes into exclusion, social exclusion. It goes into and then isolation and character assassination. Those two things go hand in hand. First character assassination and then the exclusion. And that's where there's some real dangers. So there's, I would say now more than ever, it's very interesting that suicide rates have increased.
And it's a very depressing fact. Really.
And yet there's never been more money invested into that not happening. And there's never been more institutional support for people who are suffering from depression. And there's never been more support from the education system for children that are in terms of controlling the environment so that bullying isn't tolerated at any particular level, for the most part. Yeah. So this, so why are people finding themselves in such a depressed state? And production is the source of morale, and a lot of people in losing themselves, and sometimes through the social exclusion, don't lose the will to be productive. They lose the will to pursue a dream and an ambition, because for as long as you've got an overarching dream and vision for your life, then that's that thing that'll pull you through. And perhaps for you, that was that image of Arnold Schwarzenegger carrying the tree and thinking, that's fuck these guys. Yeah. That's me one day. You don't see that vision. That's me. And that's where that's where you get to channel that energy.
Exactly. Yeah. Overcoming adversity in that builds confidence in its own way as well. You know, some of the greatest art has come through the greatest pain. You know, people that are suffering, but then through that suffering, they've learnt a way or a method to deal with that, and then become stronger from it. So for me, having those experiences when, you know, I'm not a victim or anything like that, but it was like, you know, I was not happy there. But when I had that ideal that I was working towards, and as soon as I could get in the weights room and start channeling that, and then it was like, this is it. I know this is the thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, when other people that might not have, so I think a lot of people that have gone through or have really come close to suicide, you know, one of the things that always seems to come up is they say, but why am I even here? I'm a burden on everybody else. It's like,
absolutely, yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, but self-confidence comes from making promises to yourself and keeping them. It's like, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you get up at 4 o'clock and you're like, I feel good. I did that thing I said I was going to do.
I've got my commitment to myself.
That's right. I'm going to eat this today. I'm going to do here. I'm going to train. I'm going to go speak to this guy. I'm going to make that phone call that I don't want to make, but you know, you're going and
I'm going to do the hard things first.
That's right. And every time you make and keep that promise, you feel better and better. And people that are trying to externally attack you, you're like, you don't even know what I did today. You know, like I've done these 50 amazing, well, not amazing, but even if there's 50 positive things and then you're trying one negative thing, it's like that's not even in my radar. Whereas if you've done nothing for the day because, you know, you're like, okay, I can't handle it and I'm going to stay home and I'm going to avoid everything. And then the one interaction that you have is negative and like, oh my God, it just compounds on top of it. So with that, in terms of, schools and everything like that, they have really been pushing an anti-bullying sort of ethos. But I think with combat sports, and specifically what we've been talking about on this podcast, you know, when you've got a challenge in front of you that is a physical, like if you're against an opponent that can beat you and dominate you, and you have the humility to accept defeat and then come back and try to improve your skills and get stronger, and over time you will become the strong person, and then you'll get somebody in that's new. And they'll see you as, wow, this guy's amazing. And it's like, yeah, in your mind, you're like, well, I have sucked for 5 years at it and I don't think I'm amazing at it, but I'm a lot better than where I was back then. But you have increased and become a stronger person through adversity. And I think it's just one of those things that it's scary to see a lot of sports in schools doing this non-competitive stuff, just everyone gets a trophy stuff. It's like, no, you need to have competition because competition rewards effort.
And in sport in particular, sport is that game of the game of life. And if played well, then you get to move on to the next one. It's not winning, it's playing that game well that leads you to get to the next game, whatever that might be. And what's part of that is that when you confront the confrontable, and you generally will win. So if there's something that you have to deal with or you have to confront, the loss is not confronting it. It's not confronting it and then losing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's for sure. It's like you're driving on a road and there's a kangaroo in the middle of the road or a sheep or something.
And you're hungry, so you hit it and take it. Oh, sorry.
That's right. And John Farnham comes along. No, if that sheep or whatever went that way or that way, it would have been fine. Froze, bang, got hit. Take action, do something. Something is better than nothing.
That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, if people are facing adversity through, bullying or those sorts of measures, my suggestion is find something that you can go and start doing.
And find something that you're good at. Find something that you love. So I'll tell a story about a athlete from. Probably shouldn't mention her country. From Eastern Europe, I don't know where it is.
Was it near the Danube? Maybe no.
Kind of near there. It's south. It's anyway. So she comes
from a
Balkan
region.
I'd say it's a Balkan region. Okay. She comes from Europe.
Could be one of 18 countries. So
one of 18 countries. So I competed against her in under 23s twice, world champs, and we were messaging, and she was I had a really hard time. So she came out
in the culture of the sport, or just generally
in life. Okay. So she was going through a really hard time. I have already asked her permission to share her story because I do want to share it, especially to the athletes that I coach. I think it's one of when I found out the ending of it, I was very happy, and I was like, "Can I share your story?" She said, "Sure." So there was a time when I think it was before she came out. So she's gay. And in this specific country and in her specific culture, that's really not good, cool. Not accepted, not
there's a lot more pushback than what it might be in
it's just country. Not accepted, pretty much not accepted. Now I'm not sure if it was before or after her mum found out about her girlfriend, but her mum was physically abusive to her. She couldn't leave the house. She and then her girlfriend broke up with her, and there was like just all this stuff. And
so she lost that support.
She had nothing and no one, and she was still doing the sport. This is probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And we were talking, and she's saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I remember Googling like the number for that country. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do? I was pretty worried.
It's a burden somebody to drop on you. Yeah.
Well, at any point, it was just getting progressively worse over months. And then there was just like one night when she's like, I don't want to be here anymore. She's very suicidal. She was suicidal, and I was freaking out. I'm like, I can't call the police. I don't know how to speak the language. I don't know how to, get over there. Or like, obviously I'm not going to fly over, but I'm saying like, how do I help someone who's in another country who wants to kill themselves? Anyway, I just kept telling her, there's a reason you're still here. Like, stay here. Like, there's a reason why you're here. And I think that's the reason. That's something everyone who's in that point of life needs to realize is they're here for a reason. There's a reason you're just keep going. Like, trust me. And I kept telling her, you're going to go to the Olympics and we're going to go together. Like, we're going to go to the Olympics. We're going to go to the Olympics. And that was like 2018 or 2019. And then she continually had issues like that for like the whole of the Olympic cycle. Every now and again she'd message me and she wasn't, I don't think that was like the main time when I was really, really worried. But she was pretty depressed, like, throughout the whole last 4 years. And there were often times when she would be messaging and it'd be stuff like that. And I would be like, oh no, like, come on, just hold on. Like, you're gonna be good. You're here for a reason. Keep going.
Yeah.
And then she qualified for Tokyo.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
She's going to Tokyo and she's going to race for a country.
Wow.
And she wasn't gonna stay alive. She was gonna take her life.
Yeah.
But she held on and she's going to the Olympics.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just so happy. Like, I'm so happy she's alive.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm so happy that she stayed. And I'm so happy that she's going to the Olympics. And I tell her, like, I'm there in spirit. I wish I was there with you. Like, there was a point when I really thought that night she wasn't going to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so she made it. The reason I guess I want to share that story is, to me, she's an Olympian. She's the first in that sport for her country, especially this country and that culture. It's a huge honor. Like, you know, her town has had parades for her. She's been on the news. She's had all these wonderful things that are huge, you know, like, you know, the extent that those European countries, especially a small European country, supports their athlete or gets excited about going to Olympic representation. It's a huge honor. You know, she's just brought huge honor to her family, to everything, you know?
Yeah.
But this athlete, this woman, you know, this friend of mine, she wasn't going to be here. She could be gone, you know? And that would have been a result of the hate and the bullying. She was bullied at school as well. So not only was she getting hate at home, she's getting hate at school. And
was that for her sexual orientation or other
I'd say so. It's probably the sexual orientation and you know, like.
So that's where that kind of corrective kind of bullying, you know, to try and bring people back into the fold can go wrong.
Yeah, it's just hate. Any hate's wrong, in my opinion. Any intentful hate is specifically wrong, and I think that's the worst. It's inhumane. I don't think it should be. Yeah, it's just not constructive to anybody in a happy society. Anyway, the positive of this is she held on. She's strong as hell, and she's going to the Olympics for her country. Like how great is that? So I think it's important that people realise. You know, there's a reason. There's, swear to God, you know, you've got to have a mission in life. You've got to have that belief,
purpose.
You know, that purpose. And I'm so proud of her.
Purpose is really pivotal. And
purpose, that's it. Yeah.
And with you find a lot of people that have had experienced difficulties and are able to find that outlet through sport. Well, it's the purpose that the sport gives them, the discipline, the reason to get up in the morning, the reason to train, even if they don't know what they're training for. It's, okay, well, I've got that reason to get up because my purpose is I'm going to sharpen my sword. I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to prepare for another day. I don't know when I'm going to be good enough to be the best, but I'm working towards that day. And you see it a lot in I think like gym, there'd be no gym bros if it wasn't for bullying. You know?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And there's even, for example, those viral videos on Instagram where it's like, you know, the girl. I asked my girl out and she said no. So I became a gym bro. Like, you know, like now I'm like
I'm
big
jacked.
and the guys, and it's using a motivation from a negative.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the thing. Like we've got to be able to use. I think that's something that very constructive is to use a negative situation as you know, fuel. I think the most successful people probably have done that.
Well, it's interesting. The most successful people are rarely the most balanced, and in some respects. So you know, and finding a balance that leads to a level of contentment is very difficult. So, in other words, I'm not a big proponent of happiness. I think happiness is.
Dave does not believe in happiness.
Oh no, I think
happiness cannot exist. Fiddlesticks.
Fiddle me jingles.
Fiddle me jingles.
We found the Grinch, everybody. He's right here.
Well, no,
he's here in the studio with us today. You know,
well, how annoying would it be?
How annoying are happy people? God, I hate them.
No, if you had to live with somebody who was constantly happy,
24/7.
Are you kidding? That'd be great.
Would it?
It would get annoying.
It would be annoying.
No. But I guess it depends on one's interpretation of what a happy person is.
Yeah.
And what a happy person is.
So happiness is this joyous expression.
Okay. No, I see where you're going. I'd like to clarify here. I think living with someone who's content 24/7.
There you go.
And in being content, that person is happy.
Yeah, contentment punctuated by moments of happiness is probably where it's at.
Yeah.
And but you know the imbalance there, like we were talking about the bullying that your friend was the recipient of there, where I'm
so fucking proud of her. Sorry, I'm really fucking proud. I'll share this with her after, and I'm fucking proud of you, bro.
You know, and that society that seems happy in the way that it is doesn't want to see her not be happy. So they say, look, if you go in this path and start, you know, keep going with this sexual orientation thing that we're not really, you know, cool with, you're going to be on the outside. You're going to be unhappy. So we're going to kind of try and correctively bully you back into the pack. But, you know, in that case, you know, obviously there's no coming back into the pack. And the other thing there with your gym bros, you know, it's one thing getting fit and strong and showing everybody that, hey, but then it's the next thing to start abusing performance enhancers in order to, you know, fulfill this vision of what a strong man or woman might be. And there's this real find balance where contentment kicks in, and it's that's something that people that are suffering from depression probably don't have a vision for. They don't have a vision for a moment where they can be content. And in some parts, it's because in most parts, it's because they don't have that purpose. And the purpose can bring you to that moment where contentment becomes your relative state, your state of being, punctuated by, of course, moments of sadness and times of trouble and challenges and difficulty. But if you can get yourself to there, that's really where it's at. I really do fear there's a lot of people that are out there that have the standard of happiness all the way up here and find themselves falling short of being happy when and then having some degree of self-loathing because they're not at that point that they're sold to by society to be at, rather than maybe underachieving a little bit and going for contentment, but going for contentment and understanding that once you are content, you're content because you're in fulfillment of your purpose, not because you've achieved exactly what you want, but you're fulfilled because you're on the path to achieving what you want.
And I mean, that's probably why exercise, or even amongst athletes out there, and saying this, I know I'm incredibly incorrect, because amongst elite athletes, mental health issues are pretty rife and prevalent. I was just about to say that, you know, like in the times aside, sports corruption aside, other issues aside, you know, when you're just training, like right now I am for, you know, boxing and just being the best combat athlete I can be, I'm so content because, you know, every day I've got something to work on, to focus on. And it's great. It's a great point in time to just be happy, and I'm content. I'm happy with being content. You know, I'm always, and that's actually a great practice that one of my teammates in my recent experience mentions as well, is every night before I go to bed, and I know a number of people do this, I just think of like the things I'm really grateful for, and I try and do it in the morning too. And every night without fail, it's always, God, I'm so grateful for my bed. I'm so grateful for the roof. I'm so grateful I've got food. I'm so grateful I've got water. I'm so grateful I can walk. I'm so grateful I can use my hands. You know, I got, you know, like it's
what sort of water do they have?
Well, I'm so grateful I've got my Alka Active pH 9 power water. I love my Alka water.
you got to have
it gives me contentment.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have the down. Got to have the downs to appreciate the ups, and there's the up of the water bottle.
I saw it coming. This is. I thought I know it's coming out.
Oh man.
Sorry, go on.
Yes. Yeah. You have to have the downs to appreciate the ups. It cannot be up all the time. You're an insane, crazy person if you're up all the time.
Just like you can't have all the acid without being able to appreciate the alcohol.
That's right. That's right. Yep. But so for anyone who's expecting that if their life, they want it to be, I should be happy 24/7, it's like, that's insane. You will not be happy unless you are a crazy person.
Yeah, unless you're manic.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know if you've seen this good kids movie, which I'm forgetting the name of, but they
The Terminator.
Yeah, the Terminator.
Toy Story.
Go and watch that, kids. And then RoboCop. It's like 5 characters that live inside this girl's head.
Oh, I saw that advertised.
Emotions.
Yeah, I saw that advertised.
And one of them is fear. One of them is, happiness and joy or whatever. Joy is obviously joyful 24/7. Anger and sadness. And sadness, joy doesn't want sadness to get anywhere near the control. Don't want you. No, I want this girl to be happy. And then a few things happen in this girl's life that she needs to feel the sadness. And the lesson of the movie is that Joy learns she needs to let sadness take control and let this girl feel that, because you must feel the pain of whatever it is that's gone wrong to then grow from it and learn how to get better. Because if you're just going, everything's great no matter what, and you're on fire and you're like, I'm fine. This is great. This is awesome. It's
for much of human history, we've been in a survival game, and for maybe in the West, maybe the last 30 or so years in particular, we've no longer been in that space where survival isn't the primary reason for our being. And that then gives you the thoughts of, well, what's the purpose of being? And in the absence of some kind of moralistic structure, it becomes very difficult to make a determination about that. So my feelings are that in modern times, the great depression that people are finding is they don't have to survive, but they don't know how to prosper, and they don't know how to experience abundance in a balanced way. And this is where you get a lot of excesses and people indulging themselves and and indulging in quite nihilistic behavior and feeling that there is no purpose to life. And that's simply not true, of course, and there's for all of the money that's thrown at this particular issue, and for all of the don't just stop bullying messaging that we receive, there should be more to equip people with purpose.
I'd agree with that. I'd also say, you've mentioned how much is being used, and you're saying, like you specifically used bullying as an example. If we have all these, new initiatives to stop bullying, how come depression rates are still so high? I'd say, are these initiatives working? It just doesn't, obviously they're not. So what can we do? As a coach, the biggest thing I've seen, especially with my coach who's inspired me greatly, Chief, or Gary Gillies, is the change that, physical strength to me is a huge component of mental strength, and having physical strength leads to a great change for mental health as well. But a point like when we've been talking about, that constant, I guess, one element of society might feel pressured by social media and all that to have that consistent happiness and consistent pursuit of happiness. But I wouldn't say everyone thinks, everyone is thinking that way, that they need to be constantly happy. But I would say definitely some people would.
It seems to be the narrative sold by society.
It is.
You should just
100%.
be happy. You should be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
But the worst one is you should be happy with yourself. You should whatever you are is fine. Just be happy. And then you go, well, what's wrong with? Well, I don't feel that way. What's wrong with me now? Like, if I should be just happy with, like, maybe you're unhappy because you're not the way that you could be, or not living up to your potential.
That's a horrible feeling. Yeah.
It feels like there's less community now in terms of
Community is so important.
Yeah, you would want. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like you got soccer, you got table tennis, you got cricket, you got football, you got this badminton and that, and it was like, what do you do? I do all of them, like this and that, and at recess and lunch, we're all running around the oval and playing this and doing that, and you knew everyone in your class, and you're going up to parties and whatever. Even up until the early 20s, it was still like that. And I think now with social media and people going on Facebook, and that's how they get their social interaction, but it's not personable. It's not, you're not reading the other person's body language, and especially in a sport or a combat sport where you're physically wrestling with the other person or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you're trying to win against them, but in a competitive manner. If you don't face those sort of tasks regularly, I think that is a change that I've noticed probably in the last 10 years. I mean, like my next door neighbors, I don't know who they are. They don't hey, but
I'd agree with you on that.
It's definitely a strange thing that has happened, and it feels like it's pushing further into that way, and like less people will actually go out and do physical things, and they are more likely to sit and watch or content or whatever.
Yeah, there's people are definitely more insular now, and there's I don't entirely subscribe to the idea that social media is to blame, because it's people on social media. And so what do they get away with on social media that they don't in person is it's not the body. They know what they're saying is hurtful. It's the
being able to hide a lot of these. If we're talking about internet trolls, exactly. I mean, I've had death threats, right? And
have you?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
that's another rabbit hole we won't go down today. But if we're talking about death threats that are anonymous, you know,
Wow.
I actually saw a meme about how it feels when you get your first death threat, and it's like the inbox of it, and then it's like a photo of Kanye West being like, but yeah, these people are, I guess, most of the time they're cowards. They're too scared to say these things to anyone's face. Also, you've got to think to yourself, what type of person would spend their time saying something negative or writing something negative about someone to try and what response do they want? What are they trying to do? But also the one thing I can't get about internet trolls is I could not imagine wasting my time thinking about trying to get someone down or anything vengeful or like why. Like that is, I feel so sorry for that person. If someone is spending their time doing that, that's a waste of that person.
About themselves.
That's such a waste of that person. Maybe that person, I don't know what talent they'd have, but you know, why are they not spending their time trying to be a good human, trying to benefit society?
It's strange, isn't it? That their pleasure is to, like, they might feel absolutely terrible about themselves. And it's like, I'm going to make everyone else feel bad. And it's like, oh, that person felt bad about it because I made that comment. Now I feel better. You know?
Yeah, and a lot of the time you just laugh it off anyway. Sometimes I read these comments and I'm like, like that's all you got.
Why
Like,
is somebody sending you death threats out of all the people? What did you do?
That was after my Ninja Warrior appearance in 2018.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so somebody made the effort to find you just to.
I won't go into detail, but I will say it was actually a group of girls at medical school.
Get out.
Yeah, I know, right?
And you found out later,
Isn't
or
that
you
funny?
knew at the time.
I'll leave it there. I won't go into details.
All
But did I find out? I found out later.
Yeah,
I found out later. But
being mean
it
girls.
was pretty bad. It was literally that. And it was hilarious though. I laugh at it now and I've had an amazing life after that. It's just been
Well, Carly was speaking last week about this very issue and to the extent that, you know, she had to completely disconnect from social media for a period of time until the dust had kind of settled on this situation, that she'd done nothing to provoke it.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't.
You know, she was and
you're just chilling and then all of a sudden,
bang.
God, I'd love it if he gets hit by a bus. Stuff like that, you know, like.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, that's how it was. And even someone like Carly, you know, she's a positive person. She's doing great for society.
Right.
And she's good at what she does, you know, kickboxing champion.
Yeah.
And so obviously some other women feel threatened by that and don't feel the need to try and bring her down to their level. And obviously they didn't succeed. And I'd say same to those girls. I think they've had no life experience to give them the empathy they need. And to me, that's just, I feel sorry for them, you know, and I'm lucky that I have had the life experience to give me general social intelligence and empathy to understand that sending someone a death threat isn't really the nicest thing to do. Yeah. So I feel sorry for their patience.
Absolutely. But do you find with, say, every time that you go into a boxing ring or you have a hard training session or when you're getting under a weight that's insanely heavy and you've got to, you know, do that thing with your mind where it's, I'm going to achieve this, I can do this, I can concentrate and get through this. And then you do it, or you don't do it, but at least you tried it, that you start building that self-confidence and that you can rely on yourself. You don't feel like I need other people to approve of me anymore. I approve of myself because of the actions that I'm doing. And after, you know, doing that for years, you know, every day you're achieving this and it's like you have this really positive view of who you are that you feel confident that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel happy.
That's what these people lack. To me, internet trolls and bullies in general lack that. They've had such an easy life that generally they just haven't had. So let's say you were talking about, you know, happiness and sadness or joy and sadness in this movie. So let's say we've all had a life where we've gotten everything has gone perfectly to plan. We had an amazing day every single day of our lives. We never even fell over. We never even had a scratch. Actually, this is something I've thought about. Yeah. Okay, now let's say you're 30 and all of a sudden you break your first fingernail.
Yeah.
That could be a life-shattering event for you. And an example I like to use, I thought about recently was you think about when we grew up as kids, right? And like I saw a kid fall over and start crying, and I'm like, if an adult falls over, we don't start crying. Obviously, pain tolerance is different as we're older.
Laughing.
Physical pain tolerance is different. But like a child will get up, try to walk, fall over, might start crying. They'll cry and they'll cry. They'll do it again, fall over, cry. Anyway, one day they're just gonna stop crying because they're used to the pain and whatever. And I think in life, when we have a negative experience and we rebuild ourselves, we're becoming so strong. Like there was that awesome quote by a philosopher that someone sent me, and it was like, I'll have to read it out. It's such an excellent quote. And it's about
Epicus,
becoming, Epicus.
On the other side of pain is greatness.
Definitely on the other side of pain is greatness. This quote is, "A man who has been at constant feud with misfortunes acquires a skin calloused by suffering. This man fights all the way to the ground and never gives up." And that's the truth. And so perhaps a lot of these people who do choose to try and bring others down to their level, which is a symptom of this poppy syndrome. We have tall poppy syndrome in Australia. I think those people probably just have never felt anything in their lives. They probably had very easy lives most of the time.
Yeah, the tall poppy syndrome in Australia, I think, is one of those things where, once again, it's a careful bullying so that people don't stray too far from the pack. And in some part, that's because Australia, and why it might be a phenomenon that's particular to Australia in most respects, is we pride ourselves on being egalitarian. So once somebody starts to achieve or stretch beyond the average man or woman, there's this curtailment, this natural kind of, we want to bring you back because we don't want you to be that one that people kind of think, oh, look at them, la-di-da, look at them, they're up themselves. Right. We don't want that for the people that we love. We naturally bring them back a peg or two.
Yeah.
And this is why bullying is not good. I'm not certainly condoning bullying, but what I am saying is that there is some level to it that it's not all malevolent. For the most part, it begins with not evil intention. It's to make sure that you get to stay part of the family. You get to stay part of the pack.
Right.
We want you to be here, but we know through time and space, it's the outliers. It's the Muhammad Ali's. It's the Isaac Newtons. It's the Einsteins. It's these people, they're outliers. They were the ones that were prepared to set apart from the pack. They were the ones that were prepared to take the pain. They were the ones that were prepared to endure the suffering and the sacrifice in order to, and not just physically, but emotionally and socially. As you were saying before, getting up at an ungodly hour to go and train at a time when your friends, or to still be training at a time when your friends are going to the pub or having a social life and that type of thing, you are that outlier. And I'm sure you had more than one friend that said, "Oh, don't worry about training tonight. Come out with us. It'll be great."
No one ever understood. I had very few friends who understood me saying I can't be out tonight or I can't go party. And luckily I had the support of people who, even though I wasn't there at their birthdays or I wasn't there, they would always still support me. I'm so lucky. I've had a great group of friends throughout.
Because they kind of buy into your purpose. When your purpose is really strong and they see, people go, Izzy's just doing a thing, and
I'm so lucky.
We want to, they with acting, it's a bit of a thing too, where people want to live vicariously through you a little bit. It's like she's doing it. She's kind of doing it for all of us, though. We're happy we got Izzy. So let her be the outlier, let her do a thing, and and it happens a lot in the arts as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the people who are successful, usually they're the ones that don't need to have a feeling of I need to bully somebody else or I need to do this, because it's sort of
they have their own purpose.
Yeah, it's like I've achieved this thing and I feel great about it, and I would rather lift you up to help you get to the same level or above and beyond, rather than stand over you going, I'm so much better than all the rest of you.
Well, I think Rory, our producer, made the comment the other day that in having a combat sports podcast, where you've got strength and combat athletes. You know, literally these are people that pick heavy things up and beat people for fun. So, and as Rory was saying, the nicest bunch of people you're ever going to come across.
That's,
so
and
much
that's what I've said
humility,
from day
so
one
much
experiencing
gratitude,
this,
just so easy conversations, no ego. And or if you often when you do see the ego in combat sports, it's the show.
Yeah, and it's for the money.
It's
It's
for
like,
the money.
Speaking of Sue and Spark,
Yeah. So for the money, you were saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there ever is a character played, as you said, it's for the money, like Conor McGregor and all that. Like they're actually generally good people.
Yeah. So and when you dig deeply in behind, you know, their tales, you know, often they've got that humility for very, very good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. George St. Pierre, bullied at high school.
Yeah.
When he ran into his high school bully after he was successful, he went back to his town where his parents still live, ran into his high school bully who, you know, was struggling. And George St. Pierre actually helped him out, gave him some money, helped him try to restart a business and that sort of thing. Didn't hold the grudge. But yeah, it's that sort of humility. It's like I faced my demons in terms of everything that I've wanted to achieve and constantly daily going into the gym and being tortured in a way physically that the things that you were doing to me at school were laughable. Really.
It's the voluntary suffering. It's that's what leads to an inner strength when you're willing to suffer willingly for a purpose, for a sport, for the sake of achievement. That's when there's greatness on the other side of that. And when there's not greatness, there's great humility, and in that humility is greatness.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Very well said.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
You were practicing your wrapping up voice there. You were looking at the clock like, I need to bring out my wrapping up voice.
Well, I mean, this has been awesome. It is. We've only got a minute or so to go before Rory has to go home. So
lights are going to turn off.
So I think it's a great juncture to thank Rory for.
Thank you, Rory.
Noak has done an absolutely amazing job.
Give yourself a
over the last 30 or so hours of recording that we've done over recent weeks, and that brings a wrap to our very first season of the Daily Combat Podcast. We've got so much more coming your way. We hope you've enjoyed our guests. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel because special moments from the best moments of the last 30 or so hours will be finding its way to the YouTube channel. If you haven't already as well, head over to dailycombatnews.com. Register there. You'll receive notifications. You'll also receive special offers, discounts to some of the biggest combat sports events in this country.
Free money.
And a whole lot more. That's free money's coming from
lots of free
Hollywood
money.
Matt Connolly. And we'll look forward to bringing you a whole lot more very, very soon.